All right. What's up, YouTube? I'm going to share this video. It's quite long. It's almost 3 hours. So I'm taking the time to actually just watch it with you. I'm going to re-record it here, but it's just more and more information is coming out every day about what's really, what really goes on with the FBI, with the intelligence agencies, with people who are you know what I'm talking about, the deep state, all of it, and targeted individuals, and this fucking program and gang stalking and all that. So I caught this interview today. I've been watching a lot of these. These are people that they're few and far between. People that have the courage and the strength to go out there and give their testimony. Believe me, it's not easy. And this Shiloh is her name. She comes on today. I've heard her talk before, but I've never heard her story. And after hearing it today, I decided it's important to share it. Not just for everybody on here, but for mainly for my purpose, for the people in town that if you don't get it yet, if you haven't, if you're still doing this stuff, if you still think that you're doing the right thing, maybe this will help. I don't know. If it doesn't, I don't know what will. But that's kind of what I'm on here to try to do is to just bring light to the truth, the whole truth, to the people that are doing this that I think are being manipulated, and I still think that to this day. Some of them maybe realize that now, and they're stuck. They don't know what to do. What do you do? It's important they know I don't hold anything against them. Nothing at all. People make mistakes. It is what it is. It's important that you don't continue to destroy yourself or someone else for that matter because you're stuck. You know what I mean? We're all humans. Humans make mistakes. You got to have a little faith. Do what you know is right and what you feel is right. Have a little faith in humanity that you do that and things will be all right. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and play this. So, take it how you want it. You could say she's lying. You could say, she's genuine. I don't know, but here it is.
I'll introduce us. Hello, everybody. My name's Roy, and I'm an MK Ultra survivor, and I'm a targeted individual. And today I've got a lovely lady with me, and her name's Shiloh. She's looking very tasty as well, and she's from Los Angeles. It's lovely to see you, Shiloh. Over to you, my darling.
Hi, Roy. Good to see you. I know you're across the pond over there, so a little bit of a time difference. But hi, I'm Shiloh Taylor, and I was targeted back in 2016, unfortunately, for political reasons. There's a lot of stuff coming out on the news and the Twitter files and different things going on about these things, these censored people and targeted individuals, and the truth is starting to come out. And so I've been targeted since 2016. When it originally started, I knew that I had been hacked and gang stalked and all of those things. I did not understand the extent of the directed energy weapons until much later. It's sort of they give you symptoms of different things. It just doesn't, you go in medically to find out what's wrong with you, to later on, many years later, find out that it was purposefully put onto people. And so back in 2016, I guess I should start from the beginning, from where I was targeted, I guess. I was a single mother working for the U.S. House of Representatives for now Senator Ben Ray Lujan. It was a great job. I loved it, actually. I always had felt like drawn to politics and just sort of, trying to make a difference as opposed to evilly trying to move my pawns around the board. I was trying to make a difference and just applied for the job and got it. And so I worked there for about 8 years during the time that Obama was in. And it was a good job. I sort of towed the line, I guess. It's a good job if you toe the line and you speak about what the Democrats want you to speak about, or the Republicans for that matter. They're both the same. They're both the same piece of the pie. They're not even two sides of the same coin. They are the same thing, two heads. So as long as you toe the line, you are in good company. But the second that you have a difference of opinion or speak out about things that aren't correct within the party, which party and official is separate. A lot of people don't realize this, that it's your official time is really supposed to be dealt with official time. It's not about politics. The government works or doesn't work. And so there are problems that go along with dealing with just the way that any government works. And so officially, that's sort of where it goes on the legal end and statutes and how Social Security works and how the Veterans Administration works, et cetera. So that was mostly my job. The campaign piece of it was separate, which was done on your own personal time. So I was always involved with all of the campaign stuff, worked for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce for a while as a contractor, and just sort of got involved locally and at the state level within the Democratic Party. And so many years of doing that and going to all the ward meetings and going to every single fundraiser and all of these different things and really putting in my time for the party, I started to sort of see the warts that were going on in the Democratic Party or just political parties in general. And so in 2016, I know you're from the UK, so some of this might make your eyes roll back with, our politics over here. But obviously the 2016 campaign was very ugly from every side, including the Democrats. And at the time I was working for the US House of Representatives and resigned due to, I just felt like it was time for me to move on. I wanted to move into the cannabis space, and I applied for a nonprofit license with the state of New Mexico, who was issuing out nonprofit licenses at that time. Unfortunately, they were handed out politically, and I wasn't on the right side of the governor's office to be able to get one of them. So anyway, I moved into the cannabis space and resigned from the US House of Representatives, but still kept up my political end of the game. And I was a delegate for many years and ran for national delegate for the Bernie campaign. And Hillary and Bernie, obviously, again, I know this isn't your politics, but it is what happened, got very ugly within the Democratic Party. There was, just lots of sabotage between them. The Democrats just kind of came after their own and ate their own. And, the Hillary campaign spent a lot of time sort of going through all the emails and finding out who was on her side and who wasn't on her side. And she ran a really terrible campaign. And so I was not afraid at that point to say something about it. All of these things have come out since then, but I knew that they had been messing around with the finances, where Hillary had kind of bought out the party early. And anyway, these are just political things that happened that I spoke about. There was just problems with the way that the national campaign was run and what they were doing to Bernie with all of it in every state, Nevada, all of it. And so I started to really speak out, and it really angered a lot of people. And so around the time when, if people remember back, Seth Rich, who worked for the Democratic National Committee, was murdered in DC. And I said, oh, they did it. I sort of, came out. If anything happens to me, then, I did not commit suicide. So anyway, that is sort of where I remember the light switch turning on. That was why I had pushed it too far, I believe, at that point. So Assange came out and was like, yeah, he did. He told us. And I was definitely convinced then that the DNC had murdered this boy, and still am, even though now it's a conspiracy theory and the parents, sued the police. I don't care. It was definitely bought and paid for, and they murdered him. So anyway, I spoke out about that, started to get really angry with the party. And then Bernie lost. And so then I was a trained campaign manager and had worked on all of these campaigns and an Emerge graduate. And so the Libertarian Party came to me about being a campaign manager for Gary Johnson's presidential campaign at the time for New Mexico. You don't apply for those jobs. They come to you. So it was against me and 2 other people, and the state representative won the position, and that was fine. They weren't going to take a Democrat over a Republican or a Libertarian. And so I just moved on and moved forward. But at that point, that was sort of it was already going where the light switch had turned on for the gang stalking. And so I just started to notice lots of different things, such as my social media was hacked, and that they were in there, and they get together with this synthetic, where they just the gang stalking stuff, but synthetic synchronicity, and they just think they're clever at this point. Like, people try to play this game like it's been going on for 8-10 years. Nope, I can see right through it. So they just all got together. The Democrats were, hate Shiloh. Shiloh's, I'm a traitor. I'm all of these different things. And so they started to take my business name for the cannabis business and sort of play off that and do these little things. And they made some death threats. These were attorneys. These were higher ups in the Democratic Party that were very angry with me. And actually, the person who came to me at the time asking me to put my hat in the ring for the Gary Johnson campaign had told me and warned me and said, you do this and the Democrats will be mad at you for years. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And I did it. But again, I did not get the position. And so the light switch.
That's my girl.
all of this just for, speaking out and for applying for a job, essentially. So I, again, had noticed that there was a lot of this stuff going on. So I just played the game back. I, would just post back and do the same sort of things, and sort of that underhanded, like, play off of your post kind of thing. Then they started to hack into my actual stuff and get into their, they were the hacktastics, they called themselves. And so they would go through, it was just heavy gang stalking at that point. And so this is how I know it started with the Democratic Party, because it was definitely from them, big players in there, people who I considered to be friends, which was really the most difficult thing. At a certain point, after they made a death threat against me, I just remember going, would they actually kill me? Would I do I need to be afraid for my life? Because I have 3 kids. And I sort of decided that I was going to move to Oregon at that point, because Oregon had opened up for legalized cannabis, and we did not get awarded a license. So instead of giving them to the people who were, deserved them, they gave it to a corrupt sheriff. So, and all those licenses were already, we knew going into it, the 12 were already issued out at a Christmas party at the governor's and different things. So it was not really like they weren't already given out. So anyway, after receiving many death threats, for this is the example of it. So they took, my company has the word kind in it, which is another word for cannabis back in the day. And they took a post of mine that was talking about Big Pharma and the problems with Big Pharma. And they would notify you that somebody shared your post. So I go in there and I see that a friend of mine had shared a post. State's attorney had shared a post. And so I go to see what post they've shared, and it's the Big Pharma. And so then, you kind of follow the trail, and then I see that there is lots of chatter on this post about me. And it is what I consider to be death threats, in the sense that, that's as kind as she can be. There is going to be a tornado of fire that comes down on her, and just all of these horrible things, all these different fake accounts. Now I realize they were fake accounts on there, using my name and very clearly talking about me, because it was my post that was shared. So this was sort of where I was like, okay, are they really going to hurt me? Am I going to end up dead on the mesa? And so I actually, strangely, at this point, knowing what I know now, I am sure it was contrived at the time, but I didn't realize that the mainstream media was also involved in some of this gang stalking stuff. So after they made that obvious death threat, which would have held up it at that point, and they were attorneys, they knew what they were doing. Then I saw on the news, on the mainstream ABC News, or, Alphabet News, that there was somebody in my neighborhood that was taking a torch and just setting houses on fire with people in the neighborhood. Just like all of a sudden their house is torched and the guy's got a weed burner out there. That's what it was, a weed burner. And so he torched like 3 houses in my neighborhood. And so I'm like, okay, this is scaring me here. You're threatening me with a tornado of fire and people are setting fires in my neighborhood. So that was when I realized that I might not be safe, actually, not just games, not just scaring people, but like I really might not be safe. And so I made a decision to move to Oregon and just pursue cannabis further. And so once I went to Oregon, again, now these things I didn't at the time realize what was going on. But in Oregon, that was when the directed energy stuff came about. And after I had made the comment about me, if I kill myself, or I'm not going to kill myself, if anything happens to me, it is these people. Oh, there's more to this story before I left, actually. But
we got plenty of time, Shiloh.
What's that?
We got plenty of time.
Yes. I'm just skipping around, so it's not in chronological order here. But anyway, so going to Oregon, I became more depressed than I ever have and got down to a slump where I did want to kill myself. And I realize now that I thought it was a combination of being low on vitamin D, Oregon's really dreary and not New Mexico sun. And so I just I had a cancer scare there. I also have an implant like a breast cancer scare. They give a little implant called a marker. So there's some things that happen in Oregon in the medical system that just are a little fishy at this point now that I know what I know. But at that point, I didn't realize, what was going on at that point. And so they before this, at the time back in 2016, during the time that they were swarming me, I call it, another set of friends came and brought me to a place in Santa Fe, New Mexico for a political party and came to my house, came and got me and scooped me up, came over there for this part. Would I help with this political party in the morning? Sure. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea that it's my old boss's opponent, who is an ex-sheriff. And so I just go to this party at the time, don't realize we have some wine. We go to bed and I wake up and my phone is gone. And so I can't find my phone. We're trying to prepare for this party. I can't find my phone. And my phone is in a place that I had not been at all. And I hadn't been drinking enough to not, to
remember where it was.
To lose the memory. So I go and I find my phone and I'm like, this is not where I left my phone. Well, that was after I realized now at that point, they needed a download of my phone. They had downloaded my phone with all of my cell phone numbers, all of these different things, and heard through the grapevine that my ex-boss actually had to change his cell phone number, coinciding with this point when my phone number and everything was stolen from my phone. But what they do is create a profile from your metadata. At this point, they don't need your phone. They can just get into it with your phone number and different things. But at that point, they needed to download the phone. So they downloaded the phone. They had access to, from a back door, they were calling it. So they basically saw everything that was going on with me. I was then threatened on social media directly with telling me that I was now their guinea pig and that I was going to be rained on by the army of Sharon Sputz. Sharon Sputz's army, who happens to be a data specialist, who also has pulled a patent for injectable Wi-Fi, strangely. So anyway, I was told that I was a guinea pig of this Sharon Sputz's army. And that was when it turned on. So anyway, backtracking to when the light switch turned on was after this threat that I was their guinea pig. Well, that's what they did continuously with this gang stalking and torturing and the mimicry and the everything that you post is now on somebody else's, timeline with the same things. And they had control of the timeline to where they would, like I said, they kept making death threats. And so At the time, I thought they were hacking into the back end, like Cambridge Analytica. This is before that came out. They were hacking into the back end so they would, sort of change what my timeline would say. So every single post on my timeline, at the point I took a screenshot, was about death of some sort. Death by chocolate. Death of this, posted 3 months ago. Like, there's not one post in there that's not about death. And so I'm like, I could see this, but it doesn't stop it. And it doesn't change the fact that it scares you into believing that they're going to kill you, which I don't, at this point, after recent events in the past year, I'm not so sure that they don't intend to kill me, but we'll get to that later. So at the time, I'm still in New Mexico when all of this is going on. So politics get really heavy. I decide that I'm not going to get involved with this anymore. I move over to Oregon before the election. I moved to Oregon. Trump wins. I just stop dealing with politics completely. They continue it a little bit in Oregon, and then it kind of lays off. And then I start to get depressed and sick and cancer scares. And just things one after another, physical things going on with me at the time that were not really me. There was a lot of just bad things that were going on. You just don't, like, all my tires, something happened to all of my tires at one point. There's, finding out that these are kind of the standard things that they do to people now. Yeah. But at the time it was new, and I thought the hacking was done. I'm like, I'm done with your politics. I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm in another state. I'm doing cannabis. Like, leave me alone. And it appeared to lay off. Well, it didn't lay off. It just went to the physical stuff, which I now realize are now these weapons. But going back to New Mexico, when I was in New Mexico, if anyone recognizes that state for the 2 secret labs that they have going on, and lots of different things. There's lots of Department of Defense contractors that are there. And so I was friends with the Department of Defense contractor, and my ex actually has a Q clearance as well. So being involved in having FBI background checks, I've had 3 FBI background checks. So there's no reason for any of this for me to end up on a watch list of any sort, other than they didn't like what I had to say about the truth. They didn't like my truth telling. So anyway, I had a friend that worked for the Department of Defense and had a top secret clearance at that point. And so we get into what do you do? Like, what do you do? Like, okay, I'm a whatever engineer, but I'm like, but what do you do? Like, what can you tell me? What do you do? And so, cracks a joke. Oh, if I tell you, I'd have to kill you. I mean, it was a joke. Yeah. But couldn't, the top secret clearance, they can't tell you what they do. So he told me he worked and made laser guns. That's his word, not mine. Excuse me, throat chakra, of course. Made laser guns. And so I said, well, what does that mean? And so he said, well, here's what I can tell you is we have already created a laser that can tell your blood alcohol level from a distance, sort of like the way the cops do with their other radar guns, but blood alcohol level. But it's so clearly unconstitutional that we can't sell it and we can't use it, because these defense contractors also sell to the public that people don't realize. It's not just to the government. They sell these guns and laser things to cops and security companies and gang stalking companies and, these gang stalking networks, I should say, and Scientology and some of these gang stalking. So they sell these guns to both the government and to private people, private companies. So anyway, they have had the capability of pointing a laser at people to get your blood alcohol level for at least 10 years. And so going off of that, again, I wasn't targeted at that time. At least I don't believe so, because it sort of switched on like a light switch. So I don't believe that he had a moral issue with what he was doing. I know this. And so I know he has since moved on from this position, because it's not, I don't know what they're doing, but obviously this program is making laser guns of some sort for war or for targeted individuals. So moving to Oregon, and then the physical problems that were going there, the tires being put out, just one thing after another that was going on there. I just could not get settled. It wasn't a good place for me. It just wasn't my place. And so I decided to move to California to pursue cannabis further, and just needed to get back into the sun. And California is a little more my style than Oregon is. And so I have been in LA since that time. So I have been here since 2018. Around that time, a friend of mine who I had explained to them what was going on with this gang stalking and what they were doing and the hacking, and just I'm not in a good position, but it seemed to die off. And so then there was information that was put out, of course, by one of the major nonprofits right now, which I am a member of. But at that point, it was, 2017, 2018. She said, "Do you think you're a targeted individual? Read this." And I read through it, and it was there wasn't as much information about it in 2017, 2018. They didn't have what they have now. They didn't have the evidence. And I just said, "Oh, I don't know. It just, they're out to destroy my whole life. Like, it doesn't seem like it's that bad. I'll just give it a couple more years." So it was, I don't know. At the time, the theories didn't feel like, would these people really, really? And so I didn't pay attention to it, but knew that there was still this potential to be stalked and hacked and whatever. So I moved to California, and it seemed to die off. Well, actually, I was set up with a honey trap. Is that what they call them? A honey trap.
Yeah.
I'm usually single, and I dated someone who I at the time knew was a spy. I just said he's a spy, but that didn't, didn't work out between us, obviously, but was set to distract me at that point. So they did the physical stuff. Then they set up a honey trap. This honey trap kind of takes over, takes my passport, just does all these crazy things, follows me to California, and then puts me in a really bad financial position, and then takes off. And so, that's part of the game. So anyway, that's a small piece of this puzzle here. But moved to California, just decided that I was going to try to get into the cannabis licenses were coming out here in California, and it was the beginning of the cannabis game legalized in California, which has been a very old game in California, because they were the first medical state. So many of the old players in the cannabis business here in California have been in this business for 30 years, way before me. So I'm sort of looked at as this newbie. I get involved with a women's group. I start throwing events and start just getting into the feel of California and doing things in cannabis and not paying any attention to this stuff. Well, I started to notice something at one of the apartments that I was living at that just it looked like I was there was a camera from the, down, pointed from the neighbors. And so I kind of asked my roommate, what is this? And just sort of that was my first inclination that something was going on in California. The heavy stuff had been Oregon and New Mexico, and I just thought, well, I'm done with this. They've moved on and found someone else to hack and stalk and ruin their lives. So that was the beginning of that. And so the thing with California, and especially Los Angeles, is they are fraught with stalking groups. The entertainers have a stalking group. The Scientology is a huge, crazy stalking group. So they have all these networks, and it's hard to figure out how they have the abilities to do this. But now, as we know, it is done through the fusion centers, and then now and phone stalking and lots of different, they have a lot more technology now.
Yeah.
But the thing is the police and the security companies are involved in it. That's how they get this information and how they're able to just completely ignore you. And that's exactly what's happened to me as far as police reports and things that have happened to me since California. They're not going to do anything, finding out now that I am on this non-investigative subject on this terrorist blacklist at this point, because it's not a watch list. They know I'm not a terrorist. They know that. I mean, first of all, before this ever even happened, I had 3 extensive FBI background checks. If you'd have found something, you'd have found it then.
Yeah.
So, I about 2 years ago, it started to really kick up. I moved into a new place. I got fired from my job over it was partly the vaccine. I wouldn't take the vaccine, and I also wouldn't force my employees to do it. And so I wouldn't get on board with and I'm like, I'm not part of this. So what they did was set me up, and I got a gleaming, of course, performance review. And this is with a cannabis company, because I couldn't make my cannabis stuff work out by raising some funds. I got an investment banker. Couldn't get my cannabis business together and raise the funds for the 10 million at least that you need to start a cannabis business. So I took a financial controller job with a cannabis company here. And it was fine and dandy for about a year. And then I was given more information, even though I should have had it as the beginning as the controller. And so I started to see that there was a lot of cooking of the books, and there was some things going on, and there's what I was calling it's price fixing from the growing end. And then there's this distributor thing. It's complicated in California, but there was already a lawsuit out for them sort of price fixing and doing things with the distributing licenses. And so it's kind of complicated, but I couldn't figure out why they were buying at a high price, and just sort of like went on a financial investigation and find out that there's this collusion going on with the growers. And so I get fired because I won't do the vaccine, and because I, kind of called out the CEO for cooking the books and would not. I put my foot down, and I'm like, this is not correct. I'm not doing this. This is not, if you were a publicly traded company, you'd be in jail for what she was doing. But she wasn't. So they were private. So I went to the major investor and said, look, this is what's going on with the books. This is what's going on. So I got fired. So right as I was moving into another home. And so strangely, this home was what I believe to be one of the landlords that completely wires up everything, where they've got the cameras in there. There's a utility pole right next door to the back house back there that's not in use, but there it's marked by another story. But anyway, I get to this place and I get fired immediately. And so COVID is going on and the city shut down and you can't get a job. And it's just been, Los Angeles has been fun with COVID. So, and I still refuse to get the vaccine. At this point, I'm absolutely adamant. And my, the daughter that's at home is not going to get the vaccine as well. So I get very blatantly hacked. I am it's very obvious that they've been in there. I had to change my phone number. I had to go in there. They got into my bank accounts. They shut down one of my business bank accounts. They did fraud on another. And then they started swarming, which is part of this, synthetic synchronicity where they get together, the entertainers and their network get together. They're paid for this because they're a part of it. So is the mainstream media. They get in there and they work in teams and they listen, of course, or listen and watch and then mimic the things that are going on in your home and words that you use and different things. And so I started to notice that they were, using the mimicry and changing my timeline to reflect what they wanted me to see, which was about how everyone hates me and this whole, going through this whole thing to just to break you down. And I mean, it worked for me because I'm completely isolated. I'm away from my family. I don't, I'm trying to make this network work with the cannabis industry, which is involved. The big players over here in California are involved. And so again, not naming names at this point, but it's an entertainment group. So when people talk about this gang stalking, I'm like, whoa, the newscaster said something, or that, Mother Jones or whatever it is. Oh, yes. Now the Twitter files have come out and it's absolutely 100%. They're all doing it. And they work in these teams and they have a handler. And the handler tells them, and because I saw him, number one, I saw him talking about their secret society. And number two, I saw him talking about their teams on a very obviously content created specific to what was going on in my personal situation, my words, my house, my oddball words, not things like basic stuff, like oddball things. And so I caught them on there bragging, and they like to brag about their teams and their whatever. So they get them together and they say, create the content, say this. They manipulate the algorithm so that you will absolutely see it. They do it so they share, they do these different things so that it will run across your timeline. You will see it because you're friends with them, or they just know how the algorithms on these things work. So you see these, and so you're just going, wow, I must be going crazy, because look, it's not like ABC can be involved, like Mother Jones can be involved. Of course, yeah, they are. And the evidence is coming out that it is. So when people say, oh, a celebrity said it, yeah, yep. There's lots of them. There's lots of content creators that are famous and not famous that are involved in this. And so this is not AI. They know what they're doing and are paid with taxpayer dollars. That's the problem with where this has ended up at. That we've lost complete control of what's going on here with the military industrial complex in the United States, because we've subbed out all of our weapons to contractors like Snowden. All of the things Snowden talked about, Assange, all of these things are done by contractors. They're not government employees. We sold ourselves out to companies for profit, for war. These are war guns, essentially, that are being used in a treasonous way against United States citizens. And the UK is our right-hand man. Like, that's why a lot of us are here and in England. And that's why, because they're involved. And if you trace back Sharon Sputz to who she is, what she does, she's a data specialist. I believe at the time I had found out that she was the one who had created the program and the profiling, which was involved with some of the terrorist, like they download a phone and they create a profile, and then they go into your phone and they stop things from coming in and going out and doing different things so that you don't necessarily get the messages out. The person's not actually getting your message when you text them. When you call and the phone doesn't work, I had to call 4 times to one of my friends who at the time believed me and knew this was going on, because she had seen and she knew these people and saw and knew the conversations had been heard. So they cut you off from those people. So you can't get any messages to them, and you can't, so it's like a mask on your phone. So at the time I realized that my phone has been masked. I have an adult daughter who worked as a phone tech at the point and said, you need to call the phone company because they have your phone masked and they have to go in and do something on the back end. And then you get a new SIM card and this whole thing. Well, boom, as soon as Verizon did what they did, boom, 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 all of these text messages and all these different things come in. Like the text message when I said to a friend of mine, if anything happens to me, these people are responsible. Didn't go through until Verizon cut the connection for the masking phone. So anyway, this is all high tech stuff. I guess that's where I'm coming from with my story, is that this is stuff that is not, this is not magic. This is not, juju. This is not Satanism. I mean, that can be involved. I'm not, people that do this thing must have something fucking wrong with them. So yes, that might be their pleasure, but it's not run by them. It's not run by the Illuminati. It is run by the United States military industrial complex, otherwise known as the deep state. And there, was another congressional aide that had come out and written that book. And it's been kind of like twisted from his words into, the Trump campaign stuff. No, if you read the book and you look at what the book talks about, the deep state is basically these top secret contractors have more power at this point than our Congress people. A lot of Congress people don't know about this program. Check their committees. If their committees, there's no way my boss did not know about this. There's no way. I don't believe he did this. I don't think I just don't believe that he did it to me, but the Democratic Party did. And so, that it doesn't, he had to have known about it. And especially with the committees that he's on. The intelligence committees are the ones that they know about it. They absolutely know about it. And so, but the problem is that what power do they have at this point? And so it's hard to to get the word out to them, because they don't do anything anyway. They just follow their teams and they just do what the caucus tells them to do. And so nothing gets done. And it is a few written words. The rules to the game are written. And they are things like the FISA 702, the act that went out in 1978 that allowed them to surveil us with the court system for FISA. There's a little bit of verbiage in there that has allowed them to do this. And also post 9/11, most of the stuff before 9/11 was used for actual policing. They had a reason for it. They did it, it might not agree necessarily, but if there are bad people, that's what their job is to get those bad people. But what happened after 9/11 in the Patriot Act is they are now doing things that are for future policing. So in come the guns for like, let me read what your mind is doing, or now the AI, like, they sound like things that are not possible. Like, we don't have that technology. Yes, we do. Right now, AI can take your brainwaves and see what you're seeing. That's how they're doing that. The picture, they're not like in behind your eyes. They are taking your brainwaves and creating a picture, and it's very close. If you look, like, they can see, like, they're going to draw a picture.
I know they've actually used that on me, Shiloh, and
yes.
that's called remote viewing. And
apparently, is that what that is?
Yes. Okay. Apparently, it's very simple. I knew when they did it to me. I could feel them looking through my eye. I knew it. And when you know, you know.
Yes, for me, it's very quick with the content creation. These teams, they can do this within 10 minutes. They stop these people from what they're doing. I was reading a book. I was reading the 40 Rules of Power, I believe Robert Greene's book, about how human nature kind of is with power. And I was reading a specific chapter, and I was sitting and eating and reading the book. And within 10 minutes, I had on my timeline content from one of the messengers that basically quoted what I had just read. And I, at that point, was like, where's the camera? Where's the camera? It's got to be above me, because how would they read the book and stuff? But no, it's these other things that are done with brainwaves and frequencies, which is how they can get you to want to kill yourself. Yep. They do these frequencies. And then, the microwaves, that's always been the one where it was like, oh, that's not happening. Yes, it is. I can run my microwave, or you can feel the energy in this house that was wired up, and the microwave wouldn't run, and it would pop the breakers and nothing, like you could feel it in the air. Yep. And so it's not, and I was curious about some of the stuff that you've talked about getting that type of energy read, because that's where our evidence is going to come in. Like, this is our time. We have to get the evidence for this without 100%. Letting them destroy it, because they've destroyed my evidence more than one time. Yeah. Before I can upload it, it's gone from my phone. They also, my experience in California with the gang stalking and with the attempted murder has been very heavy here. I love California, and I'm not leaving, but the stalking groups, enough of them. My brother came to visit me. He's one of the few people that knows what's going on. I believe him to be also targeted. Came to visit me. We talked about all of the things that were going on. I found a tracker in my vehicle, and I came outside from being at a friend's house, and there was a blue blinking light down underneath, hooked to the fuse box of my vehicle. And so I wasn't sure if it was, like I assume at first, maybe that it's not something, but I saw this bright blue light. And so I started to film, and I said, what is this? What is blinking from my car a half a block away? I can see the blue blinking light. So I get up there, and it's again, a little piece. So I sort of like, what is this? And I start filming and say, like, do something where it's a selfie, and I'm talking. I look at the video of what I've done. I drive home 15 minutes, and they're gone. They're not on my phone anymore. They're deleted. So I make another video of what the hell is this? And I go, and I really am trying to find out. I, write my brother, and I tell him, what is this? Is this part of the security system? Is this normal? Is this like, what is this? Do you know? Write to a friend and who had an actual tracker put in her vehicle with a blue blinking light. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it to the car dealership on Monday after my brother leaves. I post it to social media, which then later on was deleted, but I still have the videos. I post it like, what the hell is this? This is Friday. I post it. We go through the weekend. I'm with my brother. There was stuff where it appeared we were being followed, of course. And so we're joking about it because what can you do at this point but laugh? Oh, hey, Shelly, you got that guy following you, because they're obvious when they're hanging around, and like, it's just obvious at this point. It's just dumb. And, so I post this, on social media, and then my brother leaves about 7 o'clock in the morning, to head back home. And I go to drop off, and I should have listened to my intuition. I will never not do it again. I just had a feeling. I just had a weird feeling. I go to drop off my daughter. Maybe it's not far. It's a 4-minute drive from the house. And on my way back, and this is in California, so it's normally a busy street. Live right next to the 101. And so everybody's gone at this point, like all of the rush is gone. And I'm on the 7-lane by myself in the center lane, ready to turn left at the same time I do every single day. And I see a vehicle come from the other side parked and gets into the middle lane where I am standing waiting to turn left, and accelerates at me as fast as they can, from 0 to 100, is however fast they can get within that half a block. And so I wait for him to correct. I wait for him to correct. I wait for him to correct. And he's not going to correct. He's very clearly going to hit me head on. And that is his purpose. I'm the only one in the intersection, and I'm stopped waiting to turn left. So I punch it and I turn left, and I watch him, and he yanks his wheel and hits me in the 3rd lane over by where, if he would have stayed where he was at, he wouldn't have hit me. He hit me on purpose. I watched him do it, spun my car around, totaled my car. So I immediately write to my brother and my sister-in-law, and I'm like, my car's been totaled. I'm like, they're like, it's a setup. I knew it. I had this feeling they were going to wreck your car, because knew what was going on. And so but again, like, as soon as I'm on my way from dropping my daughter off, they try to kill me. He was going to hit me head on. So then he comes and identifies me. He comes over to the side of the car. I'm a little afraid that he's going to shoot me or something. So I just look at him, and he says, "Is it you?" And then goes and hides and waits for the cops. Cops don't do anything. They don't file a report. Like the whole time I maintained, this guy hit me. He hit me on purpose. He hit me on purpose. He hit me on purpose. This is, whatever. They don't even file a report. So I have to go online later on and file this report, which I thought they at least had a transportation report, they call it, because I have to file my own online thing. I get that. Anyway, it's gone. The information's gone. Cops did nothing. I told him he hit me. He hit me on purpose. I'm sure, being from a cop, everybody says that. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. No, it really wasn't my fault. I was the only one alone in the center lane, turning lane. It's not my fault.
There probably would have been camera evidence as well, Shiloh.
They're likely, yes. With any, I mean, their cameras are all over. And this is Ventura Boulevard.
Especially on a 7-lane.
Yes, exactly. In Ventura, like the most famous road in LA.
Yeah, right.
And so anyway, so nobody does anything about it. My back is kind of hurt, and like I get like 2 weeks of a headache, and so I kind of just like am kind of debilitated for like a couple weeks, to where I can't deal with anything because my back is in pain and whatever. You don't realize at the time, because I'm like, oh, I walked away like Kill Bill, ha ha ha. But then I was in pain later on and had these massive headaches. And so anyway, that was when the really heavy headaches and different things started to happen in this house, like not just from that car wreck, but in this house was another one of the weapons where they get you down and they start sending these different frequencies and different things to make you feel down, to change your mood, and then they use it with the combination of this synthetic synchronicity. And so those of us that have psychic abilities, which are all of us, but some of us are tuned in a little more. They really like to mess with psychics because there's certain things that I do, and the voices and the different things, like if anyone is psychic, like I've had spirits speak to me since I was a kid. This is not, I haven't been targeted since I was a kid, I don't believe. But you know, there are times when I have had spirits speak to me, and including my brother passed away 20 years ago in a car accident, and he came to me that evening and woke me up, and I heard it. And so these weapons that do that mimic that. So I don't know if spirit's talking to me, if that's the voice in my head, or if that's, now I figured it out. But at the point, like, you don't understand really what's going, I knew the gang stalking, the hacking, all of that stuff, but the directed energy weapons just like doesn't, to everyone else, they said, if it wasn't you, this sounds crazy. Yeah. And so it does, but they do have this ability at this point. I can tell you they've had the laser gun for 10 years that can tell your blood alcohol level without any injectables, without any bio weapons and all of these other things. You know, they've come further, because I know you mentioned that you had an injectable 30 years ago. You know, didn't you mention that in your back?
Well, he's done a measurement on me, and he's found 8 implants in me.
Okay, see, that's, yes, you had an implant many years ago, way before any of this was
well,
ever.
He said it was old technology that I've got.
Okay, see, yes, that's the old technology. I don't think they need bio weapons or any injectables or any of this stuff at this point. All they have to do is point a gun with a laser gun, or do it for satellite. It's not, they don't need anything to track you at this point. And I also believe that it is a frequency, like your DNA, like your fingerprints, different things, you know, after researching this and looking into some of the information that you sent me as well from the whistleblowers that were working on these programs. It is a diabolical program that we have to stop. Like, we have to figure this out. Like, at least the evidence is coming out now, because before there wasn't evidence. And then it's hard to keep the evidence because they destroy it. And so more than one time I've had stuff caught on video that they have deleted like almost immediately, because they have access to all of your devices at all times. Anything that, including the keylogger. Like, they've done things that I've typed in real quick and then erased, and then that exact verbiage pops up on my timeline. Strange, huh? And then they do physical stuff too. That's not just like, oh, that just could be your brain on, you know, social media. No, it's physical. When this first was happening to go on, first started in California really heavy, where they let me know that they were fucking with me. I got on the phone with a friend of mine and was talking shit about Mark Zuckerberg and about how his stuff was easy to hack, and on and on and on, and just was talking shit about Zuckerberg. And I left, we went to go somewhere to eat. And she had said, well, will you meet me? I have this, can you help me with the accounting piece of this project that I have? So sure, I'll go. And I explained to her, which is not my normal style. Like, look, I'm really dry today. I do not even have the money to pay for myself. And she said, no, I'll pay. You always pay. I'll pay this time. Just come. If you'll help me, you know, whatever. That's the least I can do for you to help me. So I leave and I get on the 101, and there is a motorcycle gang that has like 5 of them. And they are popping wheelies and doing things in front of me. They're like a couple cars ahead, but all of a sudden these motorcycle gang pops in front of us. And then they're going like 10 miles an hour down the 101 and pissing off all of LA. And playing this game, and they do it the entire time until I get to my exit, and then they drive off. And I'm like, well, that was very obviously done for me, you know, like, and then it sounds ridiculous. Like, why would they do all this and spend all this money for you? Because they get paid for it. They absolutely get paid for it. So I go, and then the whole time I'm talking to her, and then like, this isn't even in the part where there should be a lot of, it's hidden. It's not by major streets. Every time I would say something, somebody would honk their horn. So then I'd talk, like, I mean, this is like ridiculous. So I know what's going on. So there's like 2 lurkers around, and one lurker comes up, and we're sitting on like, you know, picnic benches, and I'm facing her. And so there's, you know, bench here, and tables. So you face your own table normally. Well, one of the lurkers comes up close to me, sits on the bench, turns around and says, Zuckerberg didn't teach me this, which was an hour ago, the conversation that I just had with the same friend. So then there's another lurker that stood and never did anything, just stood at this restaurant, it's outdoors, and just watched us the whole time. And so it's just stuff like that. It's physical. They know what they're doing. It's not AI. This is a networking group. They use their little different networking groups. The entertainers are absolutely involved into it.
Let me quickly share this with you just for a second as we're talking. A friend of mine shared this with me. He believes that this may be very similar or possibly the program. I'll only play a couple of minutes of it, Shiloh, just to give you an idea of, and the other friends of ours, the other idea what might be out there. This is my friend Craig.
What you're going to see, you've got the hologram image. So when I click on this in a second, it's going to come up and it's going to show you blacklisted, fault detected, injecting alternative. So what that means is when you think of something, maybe it's something that they've done to you guys. I always try and think, because I know my friend, yeah, there it is, blacklisted, fault detected, they inject an alternative. Second line down then, they first. And then it just literally goes up the list to do. And like I say, what that is, guys, see, like remind me for attack.
And this is just to show you as well, Shiloh, that the different frequencies they send us, apparently they can actually make us they can make us happy, angry, sad, and everything else. And this is just an idea. My friend got hold of that, and I wanted to say to you earlier, when you were saying that this is farmed out, this isn't the police and that doing it, there is a possibility, like a friend of mine believes her partner, her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, paid for her to be put on it through the dark web.
Yes, I originally, when this started again in California, I knew the house was wired up. I could tell by the way that it is just the way that they were able to mock my dancing and the song I was listening to.
Are you that bad?
I'm that bad that they had to mock my dancing. And so, but it was, Eminem, when you're singing Eminem and you're dancing and you got to dance just like me, but and so, but I was sort of at this time, playing the game back. Like, I'm not, here's the thing, when they start to do this to you, don't play back. They will respond. That's the thing that comes with this. This is how I know this is not AI. They respond with the same messengers who are real people. They're not fake people. These are real people that are responding to what their team tells them to. The handler says, create this content that says these 5 things, use this verbiage, talk about this. It's diabolical, but they understand how your brain works and what you'll catch and what's like mine is 33, which is my numerology number. So they know I'm going to catch a 33 if there's something that's got a 33, or just different things that they catch that your brain is going to catch. So, and they know how to work it, because obviously these things, number one, they have your brain waves or your frequencies or these different things within your body, your blood alcohol level.
Yes.
And so when I started to respond and do these different things, they did some of these different weapons, which again, it wasn't a lot of mine is usually headaches at night that are not like normal migraine. They are, it feels like my head is being closed. It's not, it's exactly different. The same. It's horrendous, and it's different, and it's not, and it's definitely in like as punishment for things that I am doing or saying. It's always when I speak out, I imagine that I will have a week of headaches after this meeting. Right. And so they started to do some different things on me where they would send colors, like and anger, and I was literally seeing red and angry. And so I just, boom, I was like, they're not going to control me. They're not going to, why am I angry? Why am I angry? Why am I angry? I didn't have a reason to be angry. And so the color and the anger and I knew that's not normal, because I don't even if I have been in the most angry I've ever been, I have never seen red. That was purposeful. It was done on purpose. And other things like the the shooting pains on purpose. Like people were talking about hip pains kind of recently on Twitter. And I'm like, they do the hip pain thing. They were exasperating the back injury that I got in the accident. Some of the things where, and I don't know if this is frequency or microwave, it's the sleep and the, like, all of a sudden you're exhausted. Yeah. All of a sudden you can't, like, it's very much physical. It's not, and until it's been done to you, it's hard to explain. But and then the brain zaps. Like I didn't know at the time. I'm like, oh, this is somebody psychically attacking me. No. It's brain zaps. They do them like as soon as you're about ready to fall asleep. I believe in theta, and pop, like in front of my eyes, there's like fireworks, and like it jolts me awake. Like that's not me. That's not that like total body jerk thing that happens when your body, naturally, whatever happens to us when we fall too fast into sleep, that body jerk thing. No. This is totally different. And they did it when I was awake. And it's like behind your eyes, and it's just like fireworks. And so it just, I guess people would think that they were going crazy over that, but it's not. All of this is synthetic. It's not. Mine was like a light switch, and I was in my 40s. That is not when people get schizophrenia. There's other things that are going on. There's other things that go on with schizophrenia. It's definitely not that. And I also, the cops are definitely involved in it, especially with the fusion centers. I was thrown in jail on Christmas Eve over a $500 unpaid ticket in Wyoming for a ticket that I was allowed to pay. And I believe one of the woman cops at first, she looked at me like, I think she knew what was going on. They threw me in under suicide watch, naked, never told me what I said. I said, what did I say? What did I say? You said you were going to commit suicide. I said, no, I did not. Show me the cams. Show me the, like where did I say that I wasn't going to commit suicide? I wasn't. I was just trying to find a ride home. I called an Uber and everything. And then the cops come, and then they run my license. And then I know I'm done. So they arrest me, and they made up this story that I somehow was on suicide watch. So then they violate all my constitutional rights further. They won't give me a phone call. They won't let me call anyone. They won't let me call the attorney. They won't let me pay the ticket, because the woman cop told me when I first went in, she said, all you have to do is pay this ticket. Like, she just said it like that. All you have to do is pay this ticket. So then they wouldn't let me after they threw me in with the bed bug infested sleeping bag clothes. Then, so I was there. They wouldn't let me talk to anyone. It was like, how long is this hold? You have no doctors, so the next morning, after they ignored me and I was saying, give me my phone call, give me my phone call, give me my phone call, I had like another jail cell across the way of dudes that were in there that were like protesting for me. Like, they got naked for me and like, give her phone call, give her phone call. So I'm starting a jail yard riot in there. But then they get out the taser. And so I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to get tased. But they went and threatened the guys who got naked with the taser and left me naked over there. They needed to put their clothes on, but I better remain naked. So, the humiliation factor, of course, high. And then with this fake, they wanted to get me in there on some sort of mental illness thing so they could give me a title. They wanted to be that I had a problem. Yeah. And, all of these things are my fault. And I'm, because then they get you in the system. They couldn't get me in the system for anything else other than a stupid $500 paid ticket. So they're going to, make me out to be mentally ill. So I refuse to take the mug shots in that stupid suit, and I do it. I'm like, I'm going to get the doctor here. You get the doctor here. Take me to the hospital. Whatever. How long are you going to hold me before I have my constitutional rights back? So he slaps this thing up there. 8 p.m. is when he won't talk to me, but he tells me 8 p.m. is when you can have your time to call your lawyer. And so, so the doctor comes and, does her little assessment on me. And again, another woman who I at this point, I know she knew. She and I talk and, whatever. And I look her in the eye and I say, I do not have mental health issues. And she said, "Thank you, be safe." And then she went away and they released me. And then as I was leaving, she told me again, "Be safe." And so because the cops and the medical industrial complex is involved in it,
Yeah.
doesn't mean everyone agrees with it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are afraid of their own targeting. And so anyone you interact with, here's another example of something that they did when it was really heavy. So I had interaction with just a funny person on TikTok. And I made a comment on the TikTok, and then they made a post that was definitely about my comment, because I was smoking a joint and they said numbers are funny and this whole thing, and smoking a jazz cigarette, like this whole thing, like it was really obvious that he had responded to my comment. And they took him down. They totally took down all of his social medias and everything. And then they let him back on, but they had recruited him at that point, because then I saw him saying, "It's all I've got," in the comments. "This is all I've got." And so they totally destroy you to get their recruits on as content creators. So, I'm not easy to kill, I guess, or whatever, but I'm not going to be recruited, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sell out other people. So as far as I'm concerned, they're sellout cunts. And it's a whole network of them, and they're all involved. And so those of people who are targeted understand what I'm talking about the ability to completely change the reality of what your timeline says. And I have some screenshots of this, but they'll do stuff like if you look at the comments, and the comments are all 333 likes, 33 comments. And so you look at that, because you notice that, because the 3 is my number. So I'm like, oh, look at that. And then I go into the comments and I see a woman commenting and saying, "Oh, I saw that there was, and it was more. I saw that there was 440 comments," or something like that, to where it was like she was seeing a different timeline than I was. And so I took a shot of that and took a shot of what I saw. And so the content is actually the timeline, sorry, not the content and the timeline are purposeful for whoever they're trying to get. And so that's where possibly the AI comes in here, but the stalking groups are real humans that have sold you out. And so I guess my point at this, once I've done this research and realized that this is being run through the military, and with my experience, like, how do we stop this? There's a lot of efforts that are being put on. There's a lawsuit that I'm really hopeful for, but it's not, we'll see where that goes. Unfortunately, it is the only one right now that is being put forth that isn't being squashed, it actually was squashed as of yesterday, or moved. Again, I'm hopeful for it. It is one of the ways that we can do this, but really the way is for you're in the UK. The United States military budget has to be cut. Like, these programs have to be revealed. Like, this weaponization of government committee that's going on, and again, they're all puppets, and I worked for them for almost 10 years. So it's a lot of puppetry going on. Yeah. But it is, I don't know of any other way to stop this and to change the system. I'm working on getting together a group for electoral change, to get rid of the electoral college here. And so
and I'm sure we could get a lot of people on board with you, Shiloh.
I'm hoping to get going. Unfortunately, what they do is put things in front of you, major things. I had, somebody file a lawsuit against me that I had to spend time. I couldn't get an attorney. Nobody would call me back. I spent 3 or 4 months messing around with that lawsuit. Like, everything is put in my way. Once I came up with this plan and I got going, and I did as much as I could, and then they have stopped me. So my next chess move is that I just need to get the information out, because we can change this game. I don't trust the judicial system at this point, because they are all appointed. They're appointed. And so they are bought and paid for before they even go. And So before they even hear anything. And so I don't have a lot of faith in the judicial system, other than it will work in certain ways that if they can get it to be unconstitutional. But the problem is there's like 4 or 5 different laws that are allowing them this illegal surveillance, is basically what it is. And it's, even though, like I said, my boss was, before he got voted in, was very adamant about the Patriot Act, repealing the Patriot Act, and he got voted in with that. And then once you get in there and you start playing the game, I haven't heard him mention it in years.
Yeah.
Doesn't care anymore. And so what people start out good. AOC, another one. They start out good, but the game and the system is set up. It doesn't matter if you cut their head off, it's going to be the same person that pops up, because the system needs changed. The system has to change. And then there's a lot of this stuff going on within the TI community, which I just sort of stepped into here. And because they give you all of the, because we've all been isolated and betrayed, it's really hard to trust again. Like your family and friends all of us have the same stories. We have all been isolated and betrayed in terrible ways by people that we loved. And it's part of this. So it's hard to trust. And then there's frequencies, low frequencies they put out to you to make you paranoid. And so everyone in the TI community, not everyone, but a lot of them are, he's the bad, he's bad, he's a perp. And like, it's not helpful. It's not helpful. And so, and so, yes, I was a Fed at one time. I didn't work for the CIA, but I did. I worked for the federal government. I'm not anymore. I know what's wrong with it. I'm not a Fed. And call me what you want. I don't really give a fuck at this point. Like, all of the people I loved have betrayed me. I don't care.
You know, I think you're an absolute sweetheart, Shiloh. And I know a lot of people are going to learn a hell of a lot from what you've actually said. So, and this is all for the good. And there's actually 3 things happening, or 4 things happening in the TI community. There's a gentleman in London. There's another gentleman in the States with the Brady list. There's obviously Targeted Justice, and there's Icator.
Okay.
But what we need to do is create a community that sticks together. With all that I don't like, because somebody fell out with me today and I've done nothing. You know, that's the community, because they're all turned against each other. You know, they've got a voice or whatever, and then they start talking shit, and somebody else is talking about somebody else, you know, and I understand it, and it's quite sad. But hopefully we can battle through it, Shiloh.
I think also that they need to realize that there is, like, even I fell prey to this just sort of recently with the TI community. I met someone actually on your call, and we were texting back and forth just about common things that we were, had in common, and different things, and talking about that this was the military, specifically the military, and it was a good connection. And then the next day, stalkerware malware was sent to my phone. And like, I know hardly anybody has this phone number. And so I immediately was like, he did it, it's
right. I get loads of that. It's the Instagram one with the stalkerware on it. I get that all the time.
This was, like 25 different things sent to my phone about Netflix and different things. But this one was actual, where my security systems were like, whoa, shut this down. And then it was rooted within my operating system. And so, but it was sent to my phone through the phone number. And so I'm like, okay, this person did this. But then when I stepped back and I was like, no, this is set up. They did this to make me think it was them, so that we don't trust them. So understand that there's a setup. Like, they know exactly that I'm going to believe that the last person I gave my phone number to is the person who sent the stalkerware. Nope. I don't believe that now that I've had time to like think about it. So part of this is synthetic, that they want us
to show you something.
Organize.
I'm sorry, but I want to show you something. And this is from 2007. January the 14th, 2007. Mind Games New on the Internet. A community of people who believe the government is beaming voices into their minds. They may be crazy, but the Pentagon has pursued a weapon that can do just that. That was 2007, Shiloh. So this is rife.
Yeah, it definitely, it sounds like science fiction, but let me tell
Yeah.
you, they're not going to let top secret clearances tell you what's going on with these weapons. They're not going to. And, you know, there's also the thing that is going on with the corporate side of this is there are lots of tech companies that are making money off of the end of like Palantir. That is a diabolical program that is taking over our healthcare now at this point. They were responsible for getting the vaccine out. There's a lot of things that program, from what I understand, was the original program that connected all the dots to be able to find Osama bin Laden. And so it creates all of these connections where they know who all your connections are. They know exactly where they're at, when they want you, they have
They knew where he
every
was.
person around you.
They
Yes,
know where everybody is.
Exactly, like little bubbles are all connected together. And who's this? So Palantir is responsible for this. So there's a couple billionaire evil people who are selling the government programs to sell us all out. And they're selling them to the cops. And now the cops are coming out that they've bought location data. Of course they have. Of course they have. But the thing with the law is that it's later. Like we're looking at stuff from 2007, the FOIA. Oh, let me tell you my FOIA. So this is funny, actually. I have to laugh sometimes because sometimes what else do you do?
Exactly.
So I put in some FOIAs and worded them in the correct way, took a screenshot according to, you know, I did listen to what Anna Toledo said. I took a screenshot. And so the FBI responded to me right away. The CIA and the rest of them haven't responded to my FOIAs, but the FBI, and I know I didn't do this because I took a screenshot of what I submitted. So I know I've had 3 FBI background checks. So I know the FBI has information on me. Like, and that's what it's asking for. What do you have on me? You should have at least the 3 investigations that you did on me for work purposes. At least, you know, blacked out or whatever it is. But they sent me back a letter. And again, I laughed. There is no information on a Mr. Shiloh Taylor. Case closed. So no, there is not a Mr. Shiloh Taylor. I mean, there is, but that's not who I'm calling about. So they play games like that. I understand the FOIA game, but again, the information comes out in FOIAs and they know it. So they've foiled me for a little while until I can get the other letter and redo it again and make sure I put Miss and Mrs. They've also changed my, like some of this stuff, the evidence that you see is things like they've taken away my credibility on my credit report here on one of the credit reports. Pulled my credit report to see, you know, I was trying to do something and it's worse than I thought it was. And also all of my credibility has been removed. So it doesn't show that I worked at the US House of Representatives. It shows that I have a Muslim man's name and that I work at Denny's, which I did when I was 20 years old. So they've pulled up information from when I was 20, which isn't even legally supposed to be on there more than 7 years. But now I work at Denny's and I'm a Muslim man. So
congratulations.
What's that?
Congratulations.
So again, so I can't even, I look like a liar to anyone who pulls my credit. I, you know, look like I'm hiding something and that I'm part of a Muslim group. It's diabolical. And so that's part of the stuff that is the things that you can't see, why you don't know why you didn't get the job, why you don't understand why you didn't get, you know, it's things like that on the back end. And then from what I understand on the non-investigative subjects and the fusion centers is that they have all of this information about you. Do not tell them that you're on a terrorist watch list. You know, the report that you've from the ACLU gives a lot of information about the FOIAs, 13,000 pages of FOIAs, and this is the information that they've got. It is absolutely the police that are involved in this and the fusion centers, which are run by AT&T. And strangely, they have, you know, in part of the gang stalking, I can't get away from AT&T vans. Like, it's just stupid stuff like that. Or colors. They do things where everybody at Disneyland was wearing red. And so like stuff like that, or all the gay men were wearing, but again, it's stuff like that. And it seems like, how much money are they spending? A lot. They have endless budgets. They just were, right now, the budget going through, they're almost at $1 trillion is what
Yeah.
Biden has put out for his ridiculous ass budget. And so that's why they are getting paid. And this is all paid through security contractors. And from what I understand, some of the people who are homeless and these other things that don't have bank accounts and other such items, they're paid in gift cards.
Yeah.
And so, and then another thing that's going on, back with the Democratic Party in 2016, at the time I had gone to a data specialist at that point that ran all the data and targeting, like political targeting, not targeting in a bad way. And I had said, look, this stuff's going on. They've hacked, they can get into all this social media, all the information I had found. And he said, oh yeah, they've bought all of them. They've bought all of the major social medias and Google. So when you Google something, which we all know this now, but this was 2016, before Cambridge Analytica, before all this information came out, I was told by a political insider that they had bought and paid for all of the major social medias, which now has come out on the Twitter files. That is absolutely true. Being run by the FBI and CIA all day. And so I knew I had a ghost ban on me. I just knew it because I've never been able to do anything on social media. And I also they did silence me for many years. I laid low because I was completely inundated with the hell that they were putting me through, from tires to cancer scares to car wrecks to, anything that you can imagine that would stop me from being the person that came here to be and what I am trying to do, because I'm not playing, and they know it. And most of the TIs are extremely intelligent. They're psychic. They're political targets, vets. Like, they are going after, I think they feel entitled to vets because the vets sort of wrote their life off to them. So they just feel like they can experiment on them. They did it when they were enlisted. They can do it as long as they want. It's an entitlement thing on the vets. The political prisoners, obviously, Assange. If we all remember when he was not well and they were hitting him hard with dues. And it broke my heart to see him in that position but we've all been there. That's what we look like when they're doing that to us. And it completely incapacitates your life so that I can't get the electoral college changed, because that's what I'm going to do. Whether they attack me or not, I'm not going to stop speaking out. I guess the thing is that I wasn't sure at first if they were murderous, but they are. They absolutely are. The car wreck, that was not meant to just take me, that was meant to take me out, not just my car. But again, I feel protected. Make sure you do use your own energy to protect yourself, to feel protected. Fight fire with fire. We have energy and brain power as well. Our brain power works. Prayer works. They don't know why, but it does, because it's the same frequencies and energies that they are using synthetically. We have them within ourselves. And so part of this is, and I know it's hard, the tinfoil hat thing, that gave me some relief from the headaches for a long time. And then I was mentioning it. I think I mentioned it to you, and I mentioned it to someone else, and I'm joking, it's a tinfoil hat because it looks like it with my little hair. And so I immediately was laid out with the worst headaches that I have had at all, to show me that, you think your tinfoil hat's going to work? It's not going to work.
No, they just changed the frequency, Shiloh.
Exactly.
That's what they did to me. And they make it worse. Yeah.
So any relief that you get, they're not going to allow that relief to continue. So, I mean, for me, I don't know any other way other than to try to stop this from the legal end of the way the laws are written, because they are using those laws to illegally surveil and to use it under the guise of future terrorist and dissident or whatever it is that they want to use for you. And there's no actual reason. Is there? If there was a reason, you would be in category 1 or category 2, where they know you're a terrorist, where they know not to let you on a plane for a reason, because there are people that are not good people. They are plotting bad things for whatever reason that they want to. But as far the TIs that I have met, I haven't met any that aren't peaceful, intelligent, and willing to say something.
Yeah.
That's why they don't want your voice heard. So they will censor you on social media. They will mess with your throat chakra. Like now I can feel it. Get it. They will do different things with these frequencies because those chakras are real. They're not fake. That's an energy in your body. They use those.
Yeah.
And so some of the spirituality, when you get into heavy religion and stuff, then it starts to become a little, not where we need to be. And so I think, I don't know. And I'm not one of those, like, I don't know how to fix this. But from my experience, this is the thing that I think if we can come together as one group and change this, especially here in the United States, to get rid of these people. Like, excuse me, I knew it. For example, we can change the system with a couple 100,000 people, with 5% of the voting population in the United States can swing all of the elections in the senatorial and presidential race, which people, that doesn't know, they're just a puppet. Yeah, they are. But if you get the people, if you change the people and the system, we can do this. Because if you get the people in there that are not willing to be puppets, that aren't willing to play this game and be a team player for the political parties, get these people in there, because they just get the Senate to stop everything. And then all of the checks and balances that we have in the United States that used to work have all been swung over to the executive side. So the executive branch has all of the power, which runs the police, which runs the CIA, which is the president. So people keep saying, well, Congress, like, go in there and tell them about the lawsuit. You can't. I worked they don't care. Once you pop in that it is about the judicial system, we literally have to hands off. That's not our arm. And so if you go to your rep and you're like, look at this lawsuit, they will not listen to you because they can't really. It's not their thing. So, and I know that they can control things like the laws that are written about the FBI. They can cut their budgets. There's things they can do, but they are not in direct control of the FBI. That is the police of the executive office. And so some of these things are out of the hands of the reps, other than they have to change the FISA courts. 702 is up right now. Biden is really continuing to try to push for this surveillance. I'm sure it'll go through. That's why we have to change these reps. We have to stop, like, okay, this guy's been in the Senate and for 100 years, let's give him another presidency when he is clearly on the mental decline because of age. Like, we can't do this anymore. Let's not put these people in that are in their 80s and 90s that literally have Alzheimer's. We have to get these puppets out of there. And so with, like I said, couple 100,000 people can swing the Senate. 5%, which I believe is 3.5 million people, is enough to completely overhaul the system and do what we need to do on the constitutional end to ratify it by the states and do other things. But there's so many people that are like either mind controlled or whatever, or just in the cult mode that we
and in the don't give a shit. Because
a
lot of people don't care, do they? Sadly.
No, they don't, and they just repeat what the political parties say. And I did this, like, they teach you in training, media training, like, you never answer the question. Like, literally, that is what they do. Not ever answer the question. Here is your 6 sentences of talking points. You bring every question back to the talking point. You never answer a question. And I'm telling you, this is absolutely what they tell you to do. And they teach you how to do this. And so, and then I had, 100 pages of talking points because the government's got so many different talking points, but they literally told me what to say. And so then they repeat it and they teach you that, like, you have the power of 8. So, if I have 8 people there, I can tell 8 people as an informed Democrat. So my power is of 8, your personal power. So that's not including social media and stuff. That's just the people surrounding you. So you can get their canned message out to 8. Then those 8 parrot what you say. Then those 8, so they're all blah, 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 this parroting the same ass thing. And so, and they go in there and write these. Like, it's not like they're written on purpose to be ambiguous and to not ever solve the problem or answer the question. And so it's just until we break that piece of the system, which is the 2-party system, we're not going to be able to do this. But there are enough independents and people that are breaking through the matrix or seeing the game for what it is at this point. This is why I think we're going to be able to do this. And this is the time for the targeted individuals. If we can just come together as a community, we don't have to agree. Like, we're all different. We have many different political views. And my problem is the second they bring in religion or they bring in politics, that's not what it is. Your illegal neighbors are not using weapons against you. That's not happening. I'm sorry, it's not. There's a little weapons thing over here that I took a picture of. That's what's doing it. These different weapons that are wired with electricity. It's not your neighbors. And not saying your neighbors can't be paid or they're not, because that we all know that's true. My landlord was paid. It's not that. It's just that it can't be every neighbor. Not everybody's a perp. It's not all about Satanism and the Illuminati and this other stuff.
That's the different stages of that you're at on the program as well, Shiloh.
You're right. There is and another person that you interviewed mentioned this. Is Abby her name? About how they sort of feed you with all of these different conspiracy theories. And so all the smart people, you're kind of like, is it really that? Is it really the Jews? Is it really? And so you're like, and I'm like, absolutely not. But they do. I mean, you have to look into it. Just because you look and read something doesn't mean you agree with it, or doesn't mean that that's what you deduce. But again, yes, it is. And then also, again, the weapons of the low frequencies that make you paranoid. And so other than trying to spread the word about how you can change your own frequency, you can do these things with meditation, pay attention to your chakras. That's where the energies are coming in when they do these different things. Like, those things about spirituality are true. It's when it starts getting into all of this other stuff that it's becoming fragmented in the sense that we have to bring this back down to reality to fix it. And say that's true. Say it's like it's aliens that are hatched and people are, lizards, or it's the Illuminati or whatever it is. They are still following the legal rules of the US Constitution. And then you guys we copied you guys. So, you guys are of the similar system in Parliament there. And so they are following those rules and they're twisting them and they're going around them the same way that everybody does with every law thing. Yeah. Anything that's written in law. So we have to change that. And then the system, again, is one that, like, it's never if we do not change the electoral college system, we will continue to swirl the bowl into World War III. And that is what they want us to do. They want us to be like, the thing that gets me is that the team players have now changed. Like, the Democrats, who they were, are not who they are now. Now they're warmongering, war profiteers. They want to send more guns over to Ukraine. They want to do all these things. It's not about the political parties. They're just another mechanism for control.
Yeah, but that's about money. That's about debt in the future, isn't it? So it's always about money.
Yes, it is. Politics is the fight over the money. Yeah. But money is fueling this, and they're using money and the banking system and the crypto. And if you just kind of take a 10,000 foot view, they say, of it, and you can see what they're doing, it's all a way to control. If they have you completely indebted, like, for instance, my generation, Generation X, they all forced us into, you can't get a job unless you go to college. And then you can work at Taco Bell when you get your degree, and you owe them $150,000 a couple years later. And then you can't bankruptcy your way out of it. You can't do anything with these student loans. You are an indentured servant, and you will never get rid of them. And most people I know with student loans have paid more than the loans are, and they still they owe more. And so they've allowed private banks to come in and rape people for things that they should not be able to do. And so, but they've indentured you to that. So then, you can't ever get rid of that debt. So if you stop paying your student loans after you've paid them off and you still owe more than what you started, then they come in and take all your tax returns. They start doing things that, like, you can't ever get out from underneath them. Then you're in default. So they tried that way with our, generation to get us as indentured servants. Now they're using it with the money. They completely wiped out all the crypto. Like I said, for me, they wipe out your bank accounts. You can't do anything without a bank account. The banks are failing, over here. There's all these things that are going on. They've crashed the economy with the financial system more than one time. And then going into some of the stuff that's being set up, for instance, all of the acreages that's being bought out by a certain billionaire here, the control of the food, the supply chain stuff they've messed up with COVID. Those are all planned.
Yeah.
And so, it's oh yeah, it's a conspiracy. No, it actually is. And the World Economic Forum, I really, when I first heard that, an Uber driver was talking to me about this, was forever ago. And I just thought, nah. Yes. Yes. It's on video. You can see what they are planning, the things that they are doing. They tell you what they're going to do. Next is they're going to shut down the grid. They told us about this, pandemic that was coming. And then what did they do? Next is the grid. So, again, going really far into the conspiracy theory, but it's not, it is a conspiracy reality, because the conspiracy theorists are like 100 for 100 at this point.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know how to fix this. I don't, but I do believe that if the United States military, if we could starve that beast, this would help a lot. So again, my hope is to also, from this interview and just moving forward, is to get some people on board for, a typical playbook. If you look at what's going on with like Herschel Walker didn't live in Georgia. He owned that home 17 years ago. He lives in Texas. You don't have to live where you vote. You don't. And that's sort of unconstitutional in itself. And also people who are like van life, or those who live in Mexico City now. We have a lot of expats over in Mexico City. They should still have the right to vote, even if they're not, in one state or with a permanent address or with all of these different things. You still have the right to vote. And, we are a republic. And so people are like, oh, it's about states' rights. It's about state rights. It's not going to take away your state's rights. What it's going to do is change the way that the votes are counted for the president and the Senate, and how they gerrymander. And when people say your vote doesn't count, it doesn't really. It counts really good in local elections, but the further up you get, the less it counts. It really doesn't. They've already anointed those people. 10% of the population picks who were going to be our candidates. People open primaries. Well, we need open primaries. Yes, we do, because I can tell you in New Mexico has a pre-primary, which you have to be a delegate only to vote in that. So before it even gets to the primary, the parties voted on who's going to be on that ballot. So I did it. I played that game. I was a delegate for many years and voted for who I wanted to be on the ballot, but they're all basically.
I'm just making sure that my hot pot's still on.
Okay.
No,
no worries.
We're still recording. You're still talking, Shiloh.
Okay, and this is kind of a boring part for those that still are interested in the political parties as a great mechanism. They're not. They obviously, it came about with Bernie. We all saw what they did to Bernie. But it is the states that have created these election laws. We don't have any confidence in our voting anymore. And to get rid of the Electoral College, make the popular vote count, either redistribute the Senate in a way that is based on population that's a little bit better. It's not going to take away your local voting rights in your state. Your state can still do whatever it wants to. Texas does whatever it wants to, and so does California. It's not going to stop your state from doing what it wants on the local level, but it does stop your state from, for instance, Wyoming and California. Wyoming has 4 times the voting, and I grew up in Wyoming. So they have 4 times the voting power of where I'm living in Los Angeles County right now. So they can cancel out my vote at 4 times. And from the, the corporate end of campaign stuff, their vote is worth about $250,000 from the other end of how much they can gain by getting a Wyoming voter. But they were able to get Cheney out because they all are very. It's not going to work to where they have more power to do things than a large population. And so until we fix that, it's about, the cities shouldn't be able to tell us what to do. No, we're people. We're not just a city. Your land shouldn't be able to tell us what to do. But it's not about telling other people what to do. What it is about is just the way the elections are run and who is elected and how it's done. And so the political parties will do anything in their power to make sure that they keep their power. They're not going to do open primaries like that. There are some states have moved to that, and ranked choice voting. I'm not on ranked choice voting anymore. The parties use that for their delegate system to cheat. So I'm like, ranked choice is not my number one, but it's better than what's going on now. But really the combination of getting rid of the electoral college and open primaries would solve this issue of getting people in there that are not puppets or are not easily made into a puppet. Like, again, look at AOC. She started out like really strong and really opinionated, and she is now playing the game, faking arrests, putting on, events to add to the military. And then they punish you though. They do. Like, I can tell you from working in the House of Representatives, and the Speaker of the House has a lot of power to, tell you what you can spend your money on. And so they would force this, we had to put out 4 flyers per year. I know because I did the budget, started out, we had to put out 4 flyers per year. These really expensive, and the Franks were expensive, which is the mail system over there. And we're talking like, $60,000 a pop for a piece of paper that someone takes from their mailbox, sees that it says paid for. They throw it in the rubbish.
Straight in the dustbin.
Exactly. But that apparently, after I was trained to know that that's long enough for them, that's all they know, that from you looking at it, seeing that it's paid for by taxpayer dollars and putting it in the trash, that's long enough to get you a little bit of recognition. You've seen that whether you agree with it or not, but the paid for with taxpayer dollars piece of this campaign is different. That's paid for by, people from the campaign. But this is official dollars. This is official budget that they're paying $60,000 a pop, and you're required to do 4 when you're a freshman. When you're this one, you can only do 3, and then you do 2, and then you can do 1. Well, we got bomb threats every time we put those out. Like, people, they saw paid for by taxpayer dollars, were not happy about it, which they shouldn't. And then, the budgets aren't huge anyway. They're not huge. They pay all of they're the same as a corporation. They pay all of their chief of staff a ridiculous ass salary. And then they're, chintzing on the district staff out there, qualifying for welfare on their low wages. They finally just let them unionize. So again, it's not something that can be fixed with in one place. But I think focusing on the rules as they're written and the budgets as they're handed out is really, and then of course trying on the judicial end, because it has to be deemed unconstitutional. That has to happen. However they're written, and any complaints, about targeted justice, I really want that to work. I really want that. I think there is some alarming evidence in that, if you've read it. I'm not sure. I don't know what's going to happen with it. I'm hoping that it, when it hits Houston or whatever's going on with it, but it needs to be on both ends. Judicially, we have to get this unconstitutional, and then we have to change the rules as they're written. So how do we, and people like you obviously are on the front end of this. Number one, you've been targeted forever. And then you are one of the few people that's putting together targeted individuals. So it's not it's to get to know each other and to sort of like, hey, we're not all perps. We're not all, like, let's actually get to know each other for real, and not just what they put out for you, or these, fake little psyops again, where they want you to be divided. So they do things in a strategic way to make somebody that they don't want me in connection with, because he's got secrets, I got secrets, let's get together. They're going to cut that connection.
The plan with TI Talk was just to connect people. And that's all it was about. And it's connected a lot of people.
It definitely has. And we all have our individual strengths and understanding and where we came from. And, mine just happens to be government. I worked there. I did that, business, government.
Oh, no, you'd be an asset.
Exactly. So, I'm not, this is happening to me too. And I don't care if people believe me. I don't care. Yeah. But it's the focus being so much on who's a perp and who's not. I think that, to me, that's the number one problem right now in the community that I just like, And to have you do these things where people get to know each other, you get to hear somebody's story, not just their social media posts or whatever. I post a lot of politics. I post a lot of things that don't have anything to do with targeted individuals,
Right.
because I am not going to make this thing my entire life. It's already destroying my life.
The
I don't
thing
want to
with
focus
this,
on it that much.
Shiloh, is people, they've been so isolated. A lot of them have got no families. Their children have been taken away. Their partners don't believe them. Their husbands, their wives have left them. Their families don't believe them. And it was just a place for people to talk. So because they need to get this off their chest with people that are going through the same, that can understand where they're coming from. Because people say, thank God I found you, Roy, because I can talk straight now.
Well, when somebody tells a story and you can totally understand and relate to what they're talking about, it really does help. To where, where people were like, I live in Los Angeles, and this other stuff with the content creators and stuff, I have evidence of that. And I have a list of people who are involved in this. And so when I tell people that this is, yes, it is a major news person that said that. Yes, it is a major content creator. Why would this person who has 5 million followers be saying something about me? Because they're involved in the network, and they may not even necessarily know what they are saying or what their content is about or who it's necessarily for. They are told to say these 5 things, do these things, wear this color, whatever it is that is in your brain waves. And that trauma, they use your trauma. This is another one that is, which gets you ruminating.
They want to keep you in the loop, Shiloh.
Yeah, exactly.
They just want to keep you thinking the same old shit so you can't break out of it.
And it's, now that we're finding out that trauma is not in the conscious brain, it is that you will get ruminating into a circle, because it's not in the same part of your brain as like logical thinking. So you can't logic your way out of that. What you have to do is try to heal that trauma so that you're not triggered by everything that everyone posts on social media, because sometimes people are just posting their opinion and it's not about you. And other times they are involved in this network and they are purposely trying to poke your traumas. What can you do other than heal those traumas? Go in there, feel the feelings, all these things, things everybody's telling you, like, I don't want to do that. But it works when you go in there, because then it doesn't bother you anymore. Then those things that bothered you when it was, just any personal traumas, they know what they are. They've gone through your metadata, which a lot of people are like, this is all brain control. I'm like, no, they also use your metadata to create a profile and stuff because they've gotten it wrong with me. Like on things that it's not all brain. They've put stuff up, and so I recognize, I used to say it's cake or not cake. Have you seen that show that like where you try to determine if it's a real cake or if it's not? Okay, well, there's this show. I love it. It's like,
right. Okay.
But anyway, so the cake looks like a basketball, and so you have to decide which one's the basketball and which one's cake. And so I'm like, this one's cake. And so I know it's something that they're doing, because it's very obvious that it is content that's created for me. And so a couple times when this was going on real heavy, the Ring of Fire, I've heard it referred to, when I was going through the Ring of Fire again here recently within the past 2 years, they got it wrong. And I didn't realize, I just knew it was about me. And then I went through I cleaned up all my metadata from 20 years ago, my emails that I've had since 1998. I went in there and I was like, oh, that's what it was. I forgot. Like my conscious brain had actually forgotten this, and they used my metadata to create something, and they've gotten it wrong. And so again, obviously they do have guns that can do, like you were talking about, where AI can create the drawing of what you're doing and stuff. But a lot of this, like, realize how far back your metadata goes. I can tell you mine goes back to 1998, just from when I opened my email. But all of that information is stored by a Palantir type, which now is going to include your medical stuff. This is why these programs like Palantir need to be stopped. It is absolutely now moving from military into our healthcare. If you pull up some of the stuff that Cory Doctorow does about really what this is going to happen to us, and I don't know if he's a targeted individual or not, but he puts out a lot of technical, very, very technical information and information about these programs. He's also a part of EFF, electronic, anyway, they are on the front ends of like electronic rights and different things with our data and such. But they are
Okay.
really absolutely abusing this data. And if anyone knows who Peter Thiel is, he's got his fingers in everybody's pie over here. He does Palantir, which Palantir is also takes all the information, all of your metadata, but then he sits on the board and is an owner of Meta, of Facebook. And so they take your Facebook data, which was like everything. We were all so dumb. Like I gave them everything. They know who I'm all related to. They know everything about me. Like, you know, and I gave that to them. So that's what they say. You gave us the data. Then they use the data and they say, oh, I didn't buy the data. No, you didn't. You just used it from the company that you had over there. You know, Palantir is the same. They're getting the information from all the companies that they owned because you gave them that data. No, it's not okay. So some of these are another thing that would stop some of this synthetic synchronicity and these profiles that they're creating of people, which again, for real policing, but future policing, like if you're trying to find Osama bin Laden, and if he really did, you know, if he did what they say and all of that, 9/11 and all of that, he needs to be found and put away. Like he does. Like there is a situation for policing and investigative work, but innocent citizens that aren't doing anything but speaking out or having a different opinion or talking about the lies that your organization is doing. How many whistleblowers are TIs? All of them. And exactly.
Somebody just sent this to me.
And so, yeah, a lot of it is data. And you know, how do you put that back in the bottle? Well, they shouldn't be able to use it, whether you gave it to them or not. You know, there are some proposals about owning your own data and that sort of thing that needs to happen. So as far as I know, the written rules need to be changed. The system needs to be changed, or this isn't going to end. We're not going to get anywhere. But what you've been on this for 30 years. What is your, how do you feel about making the changes? Like, what could we all do if we can come together to get this to change?
We have to find the source. Where we're being hit from first, because none of the governments are going to listen. They're going to all make out we're mentally ill, which is very, very sad. Because if I went to my police, a local police, and I said, I believe that I'm being hit with directed energy weapons in my property, they'd say, are you on any pills? Because this is the game that they're playing. Because they know that this is going on. I believe all the doctors know it's going on. I believe the psychiatrists are in on it. And I believe that all the police and the authorities on that side know that this is happening. What would I do? We haven't got people that could come together. We haven't got groups that could come together. You know, like even when Dr. Matthew Aaron was protesting in Washington, there's 2 or 3 years of them protesting in Washington. Nothing happens. There's a protest in Brussels in a couple of months. There's another group over here in the United Kingdom. And sadly, I haven't got much faith because I've seen so many companies come and go, Shyla. And what they did is they took money and they ran with the money. And then another company just started up with promise to help targeted individuals. And then they just ran with the money. So I haven't got the answer, but I would do anything I can to help. If I knew what we could do to collaborate, whether it be within the States and within the wherever, you know, because this is global. It's Australia, it's the States, it's the UK, it's Japan, it's all over Europe, it's Poland, you know. So we've got to find some answers, Shiloh, and I don't know, because all I've tried to do is bring a community together. And then I even get complaints about the films that I make, about the testimonies, because people, oh, that one was too long, that one was too short, why didn't you do this? And I'm thinking, well, whatever you do, you ain't going to be right, are you? And you can please some people some of the time, but not all of the people all of the time. But all I'm trying to do is help, like yourself. You're speaking out, and this needs to stop. When we've got to find a way to try and figure out how we can get it stopped. Like, I'm totally behind Targeted Justice. I'm not behind Targeted Justice. I'm behind Anna, because I think Anna's a sweetheart, and she's connected to Targeted Justice, so I'm behind them. I'm with my pal David if he's going to do the Brady Lift stuff. I'm behind Icator if they're going to come up trumps. And I'm behind Targeted UK if they're going to do. I'm behind anybody, because any word we get out there, I believe, Shiloh, is for the good. You know, any publicity, anything, even if it's negative, because we had an article done on us, and I can't remember who it was. It was one of the top papers, but they tried to make out we were a lot of crackpots. We've got Giampiero Ambrosia. He contacted me. He's a documentary maker from Los Angeles. He's trying to raise funds to get this off to perhaps get a documentary together. I was contacted yesterday by another lady who is interested in doing a story on us. So I don't know. I'm sorry I went on to one.
No,
I don't know
I
the
asked
answer,
because
Shiloh.
people who've been through this, that have been through the beginning all the way through, have the best insight, in my opinion, because you've seen it from the start, or, from when you started, which is a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so trying to find out what's going to work. And I do understand that because we are targeted, we are like a sitting duck for people who will want to come steal our money to say, I can help you do this. And that's why I think that we do have to band together, and that we have to bring the politics and the religion out of it. Yep. And I can tell you a little bit from my end, and this is just my personal opinion about protesting. I don't think protesting works. I don't, and I'm kind of waiting to see what's going on. I mean, other than like protesting and like literally the way the French cut people's heads off back in the day, but that's not happening now. I'm not sure that the protests in France going on right now are going to stop them from the 2-year, I'm not a big protest person, because I'm sort of like, well, what are we fighting? What are we doing? Like, you can wreck buildings.
I've never seen anything happen with them, Shiloh.
Yeah, they don't
with
work.
All of the protests that the TIs have done, God bless them for trying and doing it, but nothing's happened.
No, exactly. I don't, and that's just from my my political and official experience, is that and I'm one trying to put a letter together for some targeted individuals to try to get this in front of your reps. But I'm going to be honest, like, it's not necessarily, if you're not in their district, don't write to them. They don't care. Except for their committees, if you write to their committees. Letter writing, protesting, some of these things don't work. What does work is to go into the office and get early. Like, lobbying starts years before. Once it's in committee, it's already decided. Committee is a theater. And so some of these things that, like, there's ways to get around and to get into a district office. And like, if you want to get in and get it to the actual congressperson or senator, there's ways to do it that are not protesting and don't bring 500 people into a district office. They're tiny, like, and especially not DC. You bring one person in there, you try to get in, you sometimes do things through campaign. There's just ways to get in if you wanted to get to the actual congressperson or senator. And so, like, a lot of people's just gut reaction is just to go protest, and we've got to fight, and we got to dismantle the system. How? Fight who, fight what law? What are we going to, and so, from my end, I want to just help in the sense that I do understand how the congressional offices work. I do understand what they're going to say to you. I'm the one that accepted those letters. We wrote those letters back. I had to do casework. I had to, respond to people who had these issues. And if I decided that I was not going to pass it on, I didn't. And I would tell you that I passed it on, but I wouldn't, because it's not going to work. Because again, there are people that are mentally ill. It exists. And so unfortunately, I can't pass on something that sounds like there's evidence that the person is not functioning well. And for whatever reason that is, chemically or mentally or brain injuries, they're not functioning well. I can't bring that up. It's not going to work. It's a waste of time. There's a lot of other things going on, and understand that that as a House member, you have so many issues. Like actually, this is a funny story, but there's so many issues. Like I would have to look up in the system sometimes to think, is this person, like, is this for real? Like I had a lady that called up and she was like crying about these chimpanzees that had gone to space and they were not getting the retirement that they deserved. And this whole thing about these chimpanzees. And I'm like, is this real? Or is this like, it's real. It's a real issue. The silvery minnow issue is real. But then as a joke, like other, the senior staff and other staff members to the interns, we would do different things. Like, I remember this was a big thing with, and we were all in on it because it's funny. And then we go, ha, 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 ha. Like you call up and you pretend that you're a constituent, and they were talking about anal electrocutions on squirrels or something. And that like, you can't like be mean to the person. And so you kind of just like, oh yeah, they're anally, this whole thing and this anal electrocutions. And then we all ha, 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 ha. So because the government, there are so many of these, like, really, is this real? But like I said, I didn't know that chimpanzees in space was real until I looked it up. It is real. We did send some chimpanzees in space and we were mistreating them. And so, there's different codes and different things, and a lot of it is data. So if you're going to write letters, they're looking at it from data. I believe that getting into the staff and in front of the people, there's a couple people that are responsible in the intelligence committees for complaints and different things. It's not Jim Jordan. It's not, he's running this committee, but that's just a, sniffing Cheeto off Trump's ass committee. That's not actually going to like do the weaponization of the United States government, but it's going to get their attention because they're crying about Trump is, poor Trump and this whole thing. And they're weaponizing against Trump. Trump can defend himself. Focus on the TIs. But we need to tell them, like, your story, my story, different things like that. Get in there with your actual story. Yeah. And because we're suppressed through the media, like they're not going to like, nobody sees my stuff. Like I'm banned on, like they're not going to let anyone see my stuff. They're not going to let anyone, my, remote workers association.
You've got to share this as far and wide as you can.
As much as my 8 people that can see my stuff, but getting it in front of them and getting it to the right person to do an investigation. There is a movie that's out that this is because staff members do investigations. It's not real. You need to get it to somebody who actually cares, because I can tell you when I worked there, I was only there to focus on doing right. I wasn't there to like try to be messing with people or doing, I went into that with the idea that I wanted to help and be on the right side of the law and, or be on the right side of history and that sort of thing. Get it with, and I can't remember what the name of the movie is, but it's about Senator Feinstein and her committee members who found out about the Guantanamo tortures.
Okay.
And he went through all the CIA stuff, and then they tried to, they'll get you for, they tried to charge him with a crime. And so like, it's like, don't think the staff members, but if you can get a staff member, like I can tell you our office, for instance, uncovered a lot of stuff with the VA, and the VA was not running their show right. We all know that. They don't treat veterans. They only care about active military. They don't give a shit about veterans. And they were not treating them right they were not doing what they were supposed to. And people were dying. Like, you're supposed to be in with 3 months. You've got this cancer, all sorts of things. Really. And so they did a big investigation between all of the delegation in New Mexico, and they did come down on the VA for things that they needed to be fixing and not doing things that way. So it does work. It exposes it, and it also gets the laws to change. The Guantanamo Bay stuff, it's not perfect, but it's been, at least there's some things that, like the no-fly list and stuff, they've made that so you can at least protest that, or the due process piece of this. So my feelings is to get some of these senators, get some of these staff members that believe us and that will do the research in the CIA. This all stuff is written down. They are not allowed to just go do investigations without making some sort of trail on it. They don't want to give it to you with your FOIA request, but it's there. And so to be able to stop this is to get the representatives that are in charge of investigations to see this as an issue and actually investigate it and do their job. And so because most of it's a political circus, there is still an official side to this. People need to stop looking at the political circus of this, and there is official business that is done officially over there with verbiage and laws and things. But again, people need to understand your reps are not directly responsible for the FBI and the CIA. It is in the cops for the president. Just put it straight. That's not their branch of government. They're legislative. Cut their budget. Cut their budget. I mean, the military budget has got to be cut. They need to fix the contractor issue that George W. Bush did, where everybody's a contractor, and then they're all Snowdens out there. And then, you know, that's how the information is going to get out, because some of the committees that they sit on, and they do this on purpose. They purposely put you on committees that, you know, when you have the majority, that's what the whole rigmarole thing with, what's her name? The Muslim lady, they wanted her off and they made a big old circus about it and such, because these are the committees, the intelligence committees are the ones that are in charge of the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, these sort of things. They have some control in these committees, but to let them know that this is going on. And then it's also across more than one department. People keep forgetting about the Department of Energy. The Department of Energy is a huge piece in this. It's not just the Department of Defense making big guns. The Department of Energy is responsible for all the nuclear stuff and any of our energy stuff. And these are being run, these are energy weapons. I guarantee you this is stemming from the Department of Energy, which everyone has forgotten about, which runs the secret labs in New Mexico, which runs all the nuclear stuff, which runs all of these energy secrets that we have. So there's a department that just keeps getting forgotten, and it is an important one because they don't seem like they're part of this evil empire, but they are. And again, I'm not sure it's like one or two people. I kind of feel like the system has gotten so far as in the actual deep state, not the Trump campaign part of it, like the actual book about the deep state. And, you know, coming from somebody who's worked in there, the guy worked in, you know, at the House, or I believe for 20 years or something. And so you sort of understand where it's gone and where it's come from. And so the US government used to be, it's not about politics when you work in the official office, it's really not. And so like all of these puppets that they have can go away, and the government is still going to run without them. Like the government still continues to run their little train and do these things. And most people are button pushers. And that's the problem. They only have their button. They only see their button. They don't see how many other buttons, who's next to them, what button are they pushing? They push their button and they go home. Most people are not evil, diabolical. And so it's hard for me to believe that it's just like one or two people. I don't. I think it's a combination of corporate interests being allowed to purchase and have government power at their hands because they want to buy it. There's a lot of people on this targeted individual list that are, you know, corporate targets. They don't have anything to do with the government. They weren't speaking out. They didn't do anything on social media. They never expressed any opinion. They're corporate, or what you were talking about, like it's a low price to get somebody on this list, and they don't have any criteria. They don't have to have any criteria at this point.
It's evolved. If you've got money and you don't like somebody.
Exactly. Or with corporate interests, for me, with
stinks.
The cannabis business, of course, because in California, some of them are celebrities and the rest of the stuff. It's easy money for them to buy into this. Scientology does the same thing. They get access to the fusion centers. They get access to this data. They pay off the cops. I mean, LA is notorious. Like their cops literally are little gangs of cops. They have little tattoos. They gang up together. There's, you know, little tribes over here. But really, if they want to take someone down, they take them down. Like, for instance, like, and mentioning her because I happened to see that they had ran her off to Mexico, Rose McGowan. So she, was the first one and one of the first about Harvey Weinstein, who is involved in this. That's why he has the ability to be able to stalk people the way that he does, is because they buy into this access. Then they have the network of all these content creators and stalkers and all of this other stuff. They're in the stalking network. Well, then they've run her off to another country because of Harvey Weinstein, who's in prison right now, but all of his little flying monkeys aren't going to let that go. So again, it's gone so far into the corporate world. And then I can tell you, when I worked for the House, it was a new program at the time. Sandia Labs was, and is, you can actively look this up, has created a program where they are taking their Department of Energy technology that they have, and they are helping corporate large companies do different things. At the time when they spun this, they used like tires. They had the ability to help somebody with retreading tires or something like that. So it seems benign. You're like, okay, well, all this expensive stuff we pay for in taxpayer dollars, we'll just go ahead and, help out Ford or whatever it is. And, and it's not like that. They're, yes, okay, fine. Have them help our tires, but that's not what they're doing. Again, it's corporations like Palantir. And then they're selling these programs. There's more than one too. There's, of course, I'm sure if you've done any of the research of like the Stingray, like that's so unconstitutional. That just gets anyone in its area and all the data on your phone. I don't know if people realize that if you just drive past this thing that they roll around town, that all of your data on your phone is captured, every bit of it. So they have all of your contacts, all of your text messages, all of your everything, all of your searches, all of your secret searches, everything. And so, I mean, that's not even about targeted individuals. That's just about all of us. And if we're not all being surveilled at this point, we will be if we let this continue. And continue with an open-ended check. They can just do whatever they want to, and it's all about money. So then it goes into, well, we got to change from capitalism. We need to be communist, and we need to. I don't think that we have to fit ourselves into that piece of the glove. More than one of these types of government-run things. We need to not be, it has to be just like capitalism. No, they have to be tweaked. None of these work on their own. None of these theories of government work. They all fall. So if we're not going to fall and we're not going to end up as, we're all this or that, it doesn't matter. What we need to do is set up our system so that it encompasses more than one thing. It's not all about money making. It's not all about how we can give everything to everyone else. It's like, that doesn't work. People have no incentive to do anything if they're never going to get paid for it. Which is where we're at in the system right now, where nobody's paid, wages are flat, they're purpose. It's a nightmare. But getting ourselves to a system that's going to work for everyone without it being, these systems that are going to fail. Like, we should learn from them. And again, I don't have the answers for this, especially not things that are, like, oh, we have to get rid of communism. We have to get, all of that. No, I think that capitalism works in many ways and that we need to keep that, but also socialism works and that we need to use that. And, some of these other ideas on how the government system is going to work, it's like religion. All of them, there's truth in every religion. It's when you start getting into the bullshit and the man-made laws that it starts becoming bullshit. And so again, I don't have the answers. All I know is that after I have recovered and have a full understanding of what's going on, or at least a mostly full understanding, that this must stop. And I think starting with people like you that are wanting to get people together, like I've met some people on your calls, I've been on another call that has been very productive, and meeting people that are, nobody's gonna ruin their own life for 20 full years. And, it's just, and these things, this is not normal bad choices. They have set out to ruin your life. Everywhere you go, You can't, your bank account's this, it's closed down. Now you're homeless, then you have no money, then they shut down the bank account, then you have no bank account, then you can't buy anything, then there's no cash. And like it's not normal, bad, everyday life. Kind of just isn't perfect. Nobody has a perfect life. Life sucks sometimes. They take the life sucks to 100% level when you're a targeted. And I'm not going to let it get me down anymore. I'm not going to react to it. Oh, and also part of the just going off of reactionary with the content creators, they get paid for your reactions. So don't react to them. Don't let them trigger you. Don't get angry. Work on that trauma. If your trauma is about, oh, everybody called me fat, or whatever your trauma is, work on that within yourself. Because if they get your brain out of logic and get you into ruminating, you can't get out. You just ruminate in the memory because it's not in the same part of the brain as logic. And so they are using that to their advantage. So our way to deal with this is to deal with your traumas, is to deal with the guilt, the other things that are happening. Like we're not perfect. Like there are things that we've done to harm people accidentally or not. We all haven't made the right choices. But once you are a targeted individual, they do use game theory to make you make a choice. If you are in a room and you have a choice between A and B and they shoot you with an electrode, you're going to jump from that and you're going to choose B, that whatever it is, it's game theory, because they know that the chances of you not choosing that are very low. And so they can push you into situations that are not good for you and make it look like it's your own choice, when it's not necessarily your own choice. Like you didn't show up for the job interview because they flattened all 4 of your tires. You're not a lazy piece of shit that's homeless because you didn't get a job. It's because they flattened your tires on purpose. They contacted put you on a do not hire behind your back or something. Or like for me, my credit report doesn't match anymore. So now I'm a liar. Oh, you didn't work for the US House. Yes, go look. That's public record. You can find it more than this fake credit report. And then they put other stuff, like I said, the name change is one that that's very obviously that name doesn't even, not that, and I was married to a Muslim man at one point. That's not the name that's on my credit report. And I'm also not a man. And I also don't work at Denny's anymore. So, but they put things on there. They don't, and again, it's stuff like that makes it so you can't work. And I heard somebody mention that, like a lot of TIs don't have regular jobs. They don't. And they do go in and they stop you. They stop the correspondence. It does not go. Your resume didn't get to them. It wasn't lost in the garbage of I didn't do the right keywords. No, they literally didn't get your resume. And so there's a lot of this that they want to financially destitute you. They want to, when I saw my credit report and I saw what has happened to me in the past 7 years, when I saw, like, you can see when you're late and just and I'm like, there it was, there's where it had, like, look what they did. There's where I cried, because it was one of those where you just like even the things that you've done, all of your credibility is ruined. And now you're a lazy, homeless, mentally ill person that has no family or friends or kids that will talk to them or whatever it is. And so I guess I struggle with, what is the end game with destroying people's lives? What is the end game for that?
To me, they won, and they got me out of the way. Or that's how it appeared to me. And they taught me a lesson, got me out of the way. And I lost my wife, my kids, my families, and everything else. And then I ended up caring for my mother for 12 years. And then they started gradually opening a part of my brain up again. But my brain was blocked. I had no thoughts. A friend of mine said to me tonight, basically because I wasn't a very good conversationalist, because I had to learn to read and write again to speak. So there's so many of us going through different stages. I didn't know who or what I was anymore. you know, and some people that are targeted, if they've still got family, they're so lucky. If they're a couple, they're so lucky. Because we get turned against each other so quickly, Shiloh. You know.
It's and I'm, you know, I'm isolated totally. I am like, and part of my the estrangement is that I also am the one who has made the choice that I'm not going to be around that. I don't, you know, on top of I'm black sheeped, I also am not going to accept that behavior from people towards me again. These are my boundaries. So not only do you not want to talk to me, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And so I do, it's just when you say, oh, you know, kind of blaming it on someone else, then it's sort of like, well, you're not taking responsibility for your own behavior. Go inside. I'm like, I didn't flatten all 4 of my tires. I didn't change my credit report. I didn't set out to destroy myself. I didn't, you know, get unlawfully evicted without that happening. I wasn't completely harassed legally with lawsuits and different things and no lawyer will call me back. I literally could not hire an attorney. I couldn't get an attorney to contact me, or if they did, they wouldn't take my case. Like, I mean, where California has millions of lawyers. They love to do law here. It's just all about what California is about. Nobody would call me back. Nobody would take my case. So again, so I had to pretend like I'm a lawyer. They totally get you all wrapped up in this. These are not things, these are not choices that I made. I didn't make choices to shut down the entire city of Los Angeles so that nobody can leave without masks and, you know, nobody can get a job and let, you know, I did not do that. That is a result of what they have done to not just me, but, you know, everyone with the whole COVID thing. And then there was a lot of, I don't know, I'm always one that kind of sees through the bullshit. So I was never on board with that. Like before any of that came on, I'm like, nope. Because I remembered the science about vaccines and different things. And I looked in, and not mainstream media, you go to the actual studies that went on with that stuff. And you're like, this doesn't fit the science and all that. But they have, I mean, there's a lot of relationships that were destroyed with the past, how many years has it been now? 3 years we're going on with this COVID stuff. Just over the vaccines, just over those who won't take the vaccine, and you can't come in here and we're not going to, you know, at one point I was worried that in Los Angeles, we weren't going to be able to go into the grocery store. That's how much they had this locked down. And they did have it so that they were checking. You couldn't go to a restaurant and without, you know, showing your little passport. And I just inherently am, no. And so they have used that also to further isolate people that aren't on board with these, I don't know, things. And then they use everyone else's fear to try to make this into, you know, the black sheep, everyone. And then come to find out we're correct. So I really have always sort of been one of those kind of like, I've never really fit in. I don't, you know, I'm not really, I don't know. But that's okay. It's not anything bad. It's just the way that I am. And so I always said I have a really in tune bullshit meter. So you can't feed me with bullshit. I want more information, and I want it from a source that's not bought and paid for, and a source that doesn't, you know, have whatever backing it. And that's hard to find nowadays. But again, psychic ability or whatever it is, I have a very in tune bullshit meter. So a lot of people don't. And then there is the issue of the mind control stuff, which just is out of the park for most people. They just, and I'm like, how can you not see that? I mean, just the way that the abilities that we have that they talk about and the medical abilities that they have, why would you think that's so far out in left field?
I couldn't get away from it. I was on it for 10 years because I've been on the program 28, but the V2K, the first 10 years, because they tampered with me using occult magic. And that was to get me onto the program. All they did was pump the voices in, you know, and you can't get away from it. And so I did as I was told, you know, because that was the program.
And I definitely have had, like I said, because I have had spirits speak to me, even when I was a child and stuff. Things that could not, it's not, like I said, people who just recently died. And also I was told from spirit that somebody else was going to die, and they did. Nobody knew that he had cancer, and he died 3 days later. He said, he's next. And he was. And so because of that, I wasn't always like, I didn't recognize at first the difference between the V2K. But for instance, when they wrecked my car, as soon as I spun out and I was sitting there with my coffee all over and like all my airbags deployed, and they went, wah, wah, game over, voice. Yep. They knew that they had, which has created a lot of problems in my life, that car wreck and all of it. So, but again, it's not, and then they just think, oh, well, that's just the voice in your head. No, it's not. It's actual, like, heard, like you can hear, like they use and then this is technology that they know exists. They just do whatever to the cochlear nerve. And so how do you think the cochlear implant works? Like these are things that they have the technology and the medical ability to do already. And then I was reading something also about with frequencies and voices, like they have been able to recreate that in a lab. Why are you saying that's so far fucking out there? It's not. They're doing it now. And well, then why don't I hear it? Because they're not doing it to you. They're not doing it to you. And I don't get it so much that it's continuous. I do believe that, and I know you said you didn't get any relief from this, but I do think that me being a cannabis user, number one, that was a great way to not get COVID. And number two, which I found out later, which I've always believed this, that it helps me to ignore the gang stalking. It helps me to ignore things. I can kind of like do the multitasking. I think you had another guy that was talking about that, like multi-brain, where you're switching your brain up. That does work. Like lyrics, I always do lyrics when I don't want them to, like, I'll just sing or do whatever in my mind. But cannabis helps in the sense that I can tune out that, and I can focus on other things. And so, but again, because I've always had what I consider to be spirit speaking to me here and there, I've always been able to block it out. But for those who don't, and for those, I guess the one that bothered me the most, because it's just continuous. When you're in the ring of fire, they just continuously, whatever it is, everyone hates you, basically. Everyone hates you. Whatever your trauma is, and your mom, this and that, and you're a bad mom, and you're a bad this, and you did this, and you're lazy, and you're, like all these things that bother you already, and they do continuously. Like another one, which was, about being unfit. Like, and this was just recently, because it was like, they want to, people who've had their kids removed and stuff. Two of my kids are adults, so that doesn't apply to me, but just a situation where my daughter was out, and then they shut down all she wasn't getting my messages and whatever. And so then, like, I can't reach my daughter who's, on the train, and I can't make the connection. So I'm unfit. You're unfit. You're an unfit mother. You're an unfit mother. You're an unfit mother. You're an unfit mother. I'm like, fuck you. No, I'm not. You did this. You made it so that none of the devices worked. She doesn't get 25 of my missed calls and messages. And, they control your devices like that. And then they do you're unfit, you're unfit, you're unfit. No, I'm not. Quit trying to make me unfit. Quit trying to make it look like I'm unfit, so that you can, do what, again, I don't understand what the end game of this is. I don't understand how this would be other than to destroy people's lives and make them kill themselves, what in the hell is that? Really? That's our war. That's how we're going to wage war now.
I don't, it's all about control, in my opinion, because they had the power to destroy me.
Oh yeah, they've totally destroyed me from the time the light switched on. That's why I said, when I saw my credit report and you see it in black and white and you see what they've done, and it's just like, it's really heavy when you do realize that they are out to destroy my life. In 2018, when I said, oh no, it doesn't seem like it's that, like, destroy my life, really? Oh yeah, they have destroyed my life. But I'm also not going to let it get me down. I do
Good.
believe that this will end. I do believe that
Yeah.
some of us have been put on this earth to help with this. And I do believe in source or God or, an energy that is working for the good and not in the hero versus villain and all that. It's just energy exists and you can't deny it. And things have happened on the good end that you can't explain, like if you've seen those videos of like somebody's just walking down the street minding their own business and all of a sudden a tire from nowhere comes and like almost hits someone, or like a car wreck and the car moves around the person that's just standing there. Like there's things that just can't be explained on the positive end, on the protection end. You can't explain how that car went off the, what do they call that, centrifugal force, and it went around the person. How did that happen? And it's on video now. It's not something that you can deny. And so, that's just my personal belief. I'm not super religious. I'm definitely spiritual. I believe all religions have truth. And I do believe that these evil type of like, the Satanists and these other things are just using the energy we all have for bad. Black magic versus white magic, all of these different things. But we will win this. We will win this. Because the TIs that I know that are not perps or not in that part of the program, I don't think any of them are not good people. Like, I don't think some people just set out to do things to hurt other people. I don't know any of them that are. It's like, and also my thing is, I don't want to be a victim of something. I don't want to be a victim. Not your victim. Yeah.
We're survivors and we're winners. Because we're winners because they wanted us in the program on the first time, in the first place, because we probably pissed somebody off.
For sure. Yeah. I'm hoping, and I don't know when we need to close on this, but I'm hoping for my particular story is that, with the FOIAs, I was placed on there possibly by the former Secretary of State running for president at that point, because she was after everyone and small time players like, Seth Rich and other things. It definitely was by the DNC for 100%. I am positive of that. And it's important for everybody's story to be heard, but in particular mine, because this goes along with what's going on. The evidence is coming out. For instance, the Twitter files, like the evidence is in there that they have done this. I'm not alone. I'm not the only, political.
Well, when we finish this, it'll be going up to 2 platforms. It'll be converted, then it'll be going straight up to YouTube, and then it will be going up to BitChute, and it will be kept on 4 devices.
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely, and I wanted to ask you if I could put this on Rumble, if you didn't mind.
Wherever you like.
Okay. I'm definitely wanting to get the story out. I've been working on my own, but again, they put things in. I lost a bunch of data the other day because, in this day and age, data just doesn't get backed up at all. I did hours of work on my blog and different things and content and this letter and all of this stuff, and then it disappeared the next day. So again, it looks like I'm not productive, but it doesn't matter. I'm not here to be productive for any other person.
You've been absolutely fabulous. And Shiloh, if there's anything else you'd like to say it, because this will go up on YouTube and it will go up on BitChute, and you share it on Rumble, and let's just get the word out anywhere and everywhere. And it's over to you. What would you like to say?
I think in closing, we all have to come together. And I know some other people are talking about this too. It is we the people. We have to come together and put aside your political ideas and your religious ideas, and let's stop this. Let's stop this for real. Use my unique abilities, your unique abilities, targeted justice, Anna Toledo's unique abilities that we have, that we all understand. And also to get people who have been on the program for a while to get
Yeah.
beyond Ring of Fire, to get beyond some of these things, or to be able to at least, and I can't say that I can work when I have one of those headaches, but just give me a little while, I'll recover. And so we have to stop this, but we have to come together and to just not believe everyone is a perp because they posted something that hits your trauma. That's not, work on your trauma. And that, you know, why does that make me mad? Why do I feel like, but then again, there is perps, like there, like that does exist. Like we've all been betrayed. But I don't think we're going to get through this if we allow that piece of it, because that's what keeps us from being disorganized. That's what keeps everyone from fighting amongst themselves, from this, oh, this new organization is not good. And then there's organizations that take it, but we have to go through this. We have to fight that piece of it, come together, even if it's all of our organizations together. Like you can have your own little mini
And
organization.
that's what I want to do. I want to connect them all. Because
Yes,
I
I
think
think we
the only
need
way
to.
that we're going to stop this is if we all collaborate. And the sad thing is too many of them have wanted to collect too much money, and it's been monetary. Whereas I know things need money, but they've always been asking after money. Whereas I've never asked for a halfpenny, and I'm on benefits. And I know they've got to build stuff, and I know things take money, but you know, all of us just need to get together and get the word out. And the more we get the word out, I think the better.
And I think a lot of TIs don't have money. So what we can do
Exactly.
is use what I know how to do, what Roy knows how to do. What, you know, where is your specialty? Where's
Exactly.
the tech person? What do
Yeah.
you know how to do? Because we're going to have to do this with, you know, like I don't have money to give, and I know that it takes money to go around. I used to give to politics and give to different things, but I just don't have it anymore. So
And
for
like
me,
you said, Shiloh, even those rallies, that's going to cost them money to go to, and it's going to be a waste of money. Whereas if we could get 100 videos sent to somebody, or if we, because the protesting we've talked about, we know it doesn't work.
mhm.
You know, so there's got to find a way as well, isn't there, to get this over to the mainstream media, or I don't know.
I personally have been trying to get this to, and the mainstream media is the least of my concerns at this point, because I can tell you from politics, they're bought and paid for. And part of the political strategy as a campaign manager is you buy the futures of advertising. So the reason why they were so successful in spreading messages and stuff, it's just that they go and they buy the futures. So you have every time slot purchased for the next 6 months. And so that's why some of this stuff is just corporate, or, you know, especially when you live in a swing state and stuff. And I know you don't live in the States, but when you do live in a swing state, you are just inundated with continuous political bullshit when it is an election year. And then other states are like, I don't see that, because yeah, they've bought up all the time slots in New Mexico. They've bought them up in Florida. They've bought them up in all the swing states. And so, but again, it's a strategy being trained as a campaign manager, and the tricks that they do and the different things like that messaging is put out on purpose. Like, you know, some of these, and they're bought and paid for. So without money, the mainstream media, the way that the mainstream media works, the business model is fucked up. And so I'm glad that we're, you know, like Matt Taibbi and some of these other people who've worked for those type of mainstream medias are coming out and are, you know, independent medias and different things. And so I've been trying to go to independent medias, and obviously with you and getting my story out, and not a lot of people have, you know, I haven't gotten a lot of bites. But I think that if we all were to get together, I do think the Twitter files is a huge deal. And I know that hasn't been what everybody's, oh, it's not, you know, like Taibbi won't, of course, they're all targeted individuals on that list. Of course. And he's not, you know, and let him play his game that way. He's taking a lot of hits for putting this out and risking himself to be targeted himself. And so we have to get Russell Brand is another one that has a lot of people who have a lot of influence, but don't necessarily. Yes, exactly. So some of these people, you know, get your stories out to them. Maybe we can, you know, band together with, I don't know. Again, I write them. It doesn't mean that you're going to get through, but I think the media is a huge piece. And then I think changing the rules with the bad guy, which is the United States. I mean, we're going to United States of America or the United States. It doesn't matter. And then there's also, I don't know. And of course, this is another conspiracy theory thing. Like everything that's true goes back into conspiracy theory land that, oh, the United States is a corporation and, you know, they changed. And no. That's not like they just that at that point, they made sure every single organization and township and government is a corporation. That was at the time that they created the corporate entities. And I'm not saying it's a good system, but that's what it was. That's why the United States, and if you know, it's the United States of America and the United States. If you've ever been part of a lawsuit, they name you and then they identify you and then they give you this shall be, the United States shall be the words that we use, which associates with United States of America, all these different things, and give it a definition. Once you've defined it, you only call it the United States from then on. You don't have to go the United States of America because they've now defined the United States of America as the United States. So there's some of these like legal things that people are like, and that's just not going to go anywhere. Like that's not what started this was the Patriot Act, whatever the FISA of 1978 and all of those different secret courts and no due diligence or not due diligence, no, where they have to contact you. Why am I drawing a blank? All of the constitutional things that have happened with this allowing us to go into a police state. So again, I sort of feel like we should use everyone's, because I don't know. I mean, do any of us have any money? McAfee's gone. So where are we going to get our
and do you know what a beautiful soul John was? What a beautiful soul. I'm friends with his wife, Janice.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I watched that documentary and was like, wow. Wow. And, you know, and then and then how do we get some protections for people too? Like some of these people that do understand the tech and do understand the, you know, that's their specialty. We need people's help as opposed to money as well. Both of them work, but if we don't come together and every organization's a perp, every organization's bad, except for mine, we're never going to get this done. So all these little keep your organizations small, because the second they get bigger, from what I understand, over 500 people is when things start getting bad in any organization. It's sort of the 500 person rule. So all of these little organizations get together with people like you who bring them together. And then, you know,
I'm Billy No Mates.
You've got no mates?
I'm Billy No Mates. I'm working independently.
I'm totally
I'm doing everything independently, because you're going to be swayed from one way to the other. And if you go one way, you're right. If you go the other way, you're wrong, and vice versa. So I've been on the program for a long time, and I just want to help people. It's not about me. It's about everybody else as well, including me.
And I agree. That's, you know, helping, because I'm totally independent. Like I said, we've all been isolated. There are, you know, though we have our power of 8, we can find 8 people maybe now that we can group together. But again, a lot of people are targeted who are very intelligent, very, you know, have lots of certifications and lots of different things. And, you know, that's going to help targeted individuals. Because there's only so far you can go with she's crazy or he's crazy when we're all not crazy. And again, mine turned on like a light switch. So I didn't have like something, I just didn't understand how far this went. And again, and even people have told me, like I mentioned earlier, that if it wasn't you, you know, this sounds crazy. Like, you know, that this like, and I said, I know. But it's not when the evidence is presented. It's just also now they've got everything on, like the information is hard to get to each other and hard to maintain evidence and different things. And so there are some technical things that I think if some of these tech people help
Yeah.
us, help create something that we can make sure that our evidence, like, and again, I know that there's ways now, but you get bogged down with just trying to keep your evidence and trying to keep the recording and the work that you just did. Then your tires are flat, or then your car is wrecked. So, again, I don't have the answers. I just do think that we all need to come together, and I think most people are not perps. This is not a fun life.
Agreed. Shiloh, it's been an absolute pleasure. The final words to you, darling. It's been so special, and I know that you're going to have taught a lot of people a lot of stuff, and I'm so grateful to you. And is there any final words, darling? And it's really, and then I said it will go up on YouTube and BitChute, and hopefully it'll help a lot of people, because our videos are getting 400 or 500 views a time now, and I think that's quite good considering,
Oh yeah, sure.
Considering that we've been going for a few months, and so hopefully we'll get some good views. And what would you say to any of your former friends that know about this, Shiloh?
Most of the people that believe me and know about it, I'm still friends with a couple of them. I do have one that I don't think was on the up and up, and I guess I would just say I forgive you, because I understand the position that they put you in to have to do that, but just stay away from all the targeted individuals, because we're not one of them.
It's so wrong. It's so wrong, isn't it, Shiloh?
It is, and I don't, I'm not a sellout cunt. I'm, displaced and have no money and totally, discredited and all sorts of stuff, but I'm not going to sell out. I'm not going to do that to other people. I'm not. And so again, forgive them, but I don't, no access. I don't think anyone who has done any of these things that have been done to all of us, that they need to have access to us any longer, because they obviously care about money more than they do about humanity. I mean, these are human rights that are being violated. This is not just, it's a constitutional right, they didn't send me a letter. No. This is human rights and torture and treason. So you can pay your credit card bill. I don't know. I mean, is anyone, one more quick thing, and to find some of these whistleblowers. I know other organizations had mentioned finding whistleblowers. Brian Kofron, the one who was the tech person, like some of these people who are whistleblowers who have disappeared. I understand why you've disappeared, but we need your help still. Anyone who knows anyone that can help this and whistleblow for this, we need to stop this. The evidence lies with that.
Very well said. Well, I'm going to see Barry Trower in about 8 weeks. So, yeah. So I'm hoping to do a little bit of filming while I'm there. Because Barry's an ex-microwave weapons expert, used to work for MI5 and MI6. And he's been reporting about this for many, many years. So hopefully.
Well, if we all pass on the message, even if it's amongst other TIs, eventually this will get out.
Yeah.
And I do think the key is independent media and the start of it. The wheels are turning in the right direction.
Yeah.
So everybody remain hopeful. Don't remain hopeless. There is hope. There is hope.
I'm ever so grateful to you, Shiloh. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, darling. and thanks very much. And I'll upload this to YouTube and BitChute, send you the link, and we've got to keep in touch. And anything that's happening within the community, you know, you've got to be on the same page, because you'll be very good for the community, you know.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to help. And it takes a while. Like it's been like, it's really, and it kind of breaks my heart when you see people that are really suffering right now.
Yeah, and me. And not only this, like I said, I sit in my head feels like it's going to explode. And 4 foot away, I've got between 1.5 to 3 gigahertz of microwave energy deliberately coming in my window, you know. So
Do you have a way to, I know you had mentioned this before on social media, do you have somebody that's measuring that and sort of things that we can?
I had somebody that came here and measured the flat, and the only
Okay.
safe place in my place is the bathroom. Yeah, exactly. So I'll have to move everything in there. No, but that's the only safe place is the bathroom.
And it's not your neighbors, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, like with people to understand some of this stuff, you can measure the energy. I could feel it in my last place. I could absolutely feel it. And it would, like I said, it would pop the whole, the electric would, the thing would pop. But if we can get the evidence like this and then pass around some of these things, such as, you know, the bug sweeps and different things, they are going into people's houses. That's an old tactic. And, you know, they did that definitely for me as well. So if we can get some of these people with evidence of the energy levels and harmful things, and
we're going to do a recording, Shiloh. We've
good.
What we're going to do next time, he's going to come back and we're going to record everything. He's got 10 pieces of equipment. He's got all the scanning devices, the microwave, and I know it's a $2,000-3,000 piece of equipment he's got, and that's just for to measure the microwave energy. So it's all professional stuff. So he's going to come back. We're going to record everything, scan my body, and then get the video out.
Good. Okay. Because yeah, this is, I mean, proving it and showing it to people certainly takes away that this is a crazy notion.
Yeah.
When you prove it, because I mean, it's, yes, they're measurable. The energy is measurable.
Yeah. Well,
The
two
group
throat
stocking-
two throat operations, lumps just appeared, one on my testicle and bladder cancer, all within, that was 4 years ago, but all within the last 10 years. So 4 unnecessary operations because of microwave energy. So it's all been sent to try us, my dear old mother would say, Shiloh. You know, I'm so grateful to you, darling. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll keep in contact.
Yes, and I'm grateful to you too, as well, to bring people together in a way that is, this has to be done. It's the first step. Very grateful for everything that you do.
And much peace and love, darling. Take care.
You too. You too. We're going to beat this.
We will beat this. Take care.